So I'll open the hearing for the liquor license on April 8th, 2025. Our discussion for liquor licenses are the pilot liquor license. And B2B Cokeville LLC, which is also the Gold Duffel liquor license. Do I have a motion to accept these liquor licenses?
Discuss first.
Don't discuss these. I'm almost awake today.
It's hard. Here. Discuss it, close it, and in the middle of the meeting, I'm not trying to. Or do you just open for discussion then?
Yeah, do we have any discussion on the liquor license?
I
have no comment.
have no comment for it.
Anybody in the general public have any comment on it?
I think both of them are working good, so
Yeah,
I
and
haven't had any issues with them, at least from our end.
So you guys would be the first to know. I think.
There's something.
Okay, we'll close that hearing. We will open our regular meeting for town council, April 8th, 2025. And Charles, if you would need us to get that.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion made.
Wait, do I have a second? Second by Teresa. Any further discussion on the agenda? Not all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 11th, 2025?
Motion made.
Motion by Wayne. For a second.
And if you have a problem with one of the, remind me what I'm supposed to say. Second.
We need a second.
Second discussion.
Gotcha. I second it.
Any further discussion? No further discussion.
Yeah. The only thing I had, and I already talked to Jody about it, was when it talked about Bentley going to Labarge for his training. He actually goes to Marvel. That's all I had.
Motion to make that thing. With corrections to.
Corrections.
Motion to approve with corrections.
Okay. I motion to approve with corrections.
Okay, there's already a motion. So Wayne made it,
Got it.
Teresa seconded it. One of you need to amend your motion and make the corrections.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, and yeah. All of you. Yeah. Okay, remind me what I need to do, because I did it backwards, obviously. No, Wayne made the motion, you made the second, because you wanted the corrections. Now, if you're still gonna discuss, if you're not, vote. Okay.
Vote to approve the
Minutes.
minutes.
Should be 2 pets a day.
It's like 7.
I understood.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the accounts payable business license and payroll for March?
What is that?
Your very last page of the bills.
It looks like this.
Only good motion also.
That's by Wayne,
I second.
seconded by Brad. Just for a matter of record, I will abstain from the vote on this because I have a business license in here. Further discussion?
With people for that one.
Go ahead. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. With me abstaining. Do I have a motion? Oh, wait. Didn't.
No.
We have any public recognition? I have one if I would like to, if I could. Officer Stocking. Has kind of made one of the busts of the decade here, maybe the century. Last week. Pretty good kid. He's normal traffic stop from what I understand, and it turned into his diligence, finding a pretty good amount of drugs. With the assistance of Chief Whitehead and our canine.
Good job this morning.
And just so everybody knows. Everybody's giving him praises all across the county because it's pretty good size. So.
I was telling, it was over 120 pounds. Yeah.
Pretty massive amount of marijuana. Have any other public recognition or? Things of that nature. Okay, if not, we'll move forward. Really unfinished business.
Any progress on the sewer access issue?
Not at this time. Any new business?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up something.
Okay.
For transparency for our video that we're now using. And for others that are in the congregation here, be able to know how we're voting, I suggest that we talk or discuss about roll call voting and then have it on the record on there. So yes, I'm motioning to discuss it.
We'll say that again.
Roll call voting. So we have clarity. So when we all do ayes. So everyone knows who does what, so it's just roll call voting, so when we go to do a vote. Our clerk would basically just say, Dayton, yay or nay. And well, then she doesn't say that, she just says Dayton, he says yay or nay, says your name, says yay or nay, goes through it. That way, everyone who's watching knows how we voted, and when it is on the record, on the minutes, everyone can know how we all voted and how they're gonna vote for future people for future. I just want the clarity for the town and for myself.
Council?
Years we did, we've had it
Well, 14,
so far, hasn't
that's for me.
it? No, maybe it'll change everything.
Any other comments on this, council?
Is anyone for it or against it?
I'm okay with it. That way, people don't have to come say, Teresa, how did you vote? If they would just look it up, it would be there, but I don't have a problem with that.
Brad, you mentioned some people have a hard time hearing, who are watching it, over the,
Just be able to differentiate.
and just
vote.
be, you know, it's from a clarity standpoint. It's a small thing, we'll vote a couple of times during sessions.
I think we should ask the public what they like.
Public?
I'm for it. I don't see why it would hurt.
Yeah.
And
It protects you, so then there's no question how you voted.
not only us, but when you're running again, I can go back and say, well, what things did he vote for? It does he have the same beliefs that I do as a member of the community? I can see actually where people are lining up. I think it's a great idea.
As a matter of record, if there is a nay vote, it's usually marked in our minutes. It's not just like a 3-1, it's usually the name is mentioned. Just for public's knowledge.
So if it's unanimous, just mark as unanimous.
If it's unanimous, unanimous of the split, then
You've identified who.
it's usually the nays are just nays, and then the yeas are just the yeas, and the nay is marked as who was a nay or against that. So it separates it out.
I don't think it, sorry,
Well, I'm just giving that information, so. Go ahead.
I don't think it takes much of extra time to do roll call voting. I do think it does help clarify how we're voting now that we're recording it. It's just simple. We just ask each one individually. You know, as far as reporting, if we want to continue to do I just think it's important that it shows exactly how the votes are. I don't know if it's unanimous, and if you write unanimous, then obviously, but if there's one person different, it needs to be. I think it needs to show.
It does.
Okay.
It hasn't. Before, that's why I'm bringing it up.
What do you mean hasn't before?
Okay, so we want to go back to the minutes on January. I can go through those minutes. They do not show how, they do not reflect how we vote. That's my example.
What do we vote on?
We voted on recording. We voted on the Day of Remembrance. We voted on a council person, if they're missing, they can use any electronic means necessary to have the meeting.
And I can guarantee it's on record with how I voted.
When I looked at it, it didn't show it. So that's what I'm trying to clarify. If we're gonna do it, that's not the minute.
You said one name. I didn't put your name. I can. That makes you feel better.
Like I said, I'm sure we're trying to put transparency for everyone. That's the goal why I bring it up.
Can I ask a question? Are you trying to, I'm just trying to clarify, are you trying to do it for people that are watching, so they have clarity, or for people to go back and look at the record?
Oh, all of them. So it is important when you're watching to be able to know, because it is kind of hard to hear when we're all, you know what I mean? How do you know who's saying who's what? When the camera's over there and we're doing the best we can for what we have.
Well,
That's part of it. The other part is yes, I do want it to be on the record so that everyone in the whole community can know exactly how I stand or how Wayne stands or anyone else that's on the board, so that you actually have a record of why you want that person to be representing you.
well, the reason I was asking, because if it's for recording, couldn't you just raise your hand so they could see you? I'm not saying anything about the report, but I'm saying, when I was watching online, it's hard to see who's saying yay or nay, but if you raise your hand, then they can see it on the recording, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we could do it that way. That is an option. I'm just saying, if you just said, if we do roll call voting, all it does is she says Dayton and he says it said it. The same kind of thing. We can also raise our hand, say it, yay, whatever. I just know sometimes it's hard to really understand it. I don't know if anyone's gone back and watched the last one.
So would she be putting in the minutes, Dayton, yay, Harmon, yay, whatever?
I'm suggesting that. And this is just a policy thing. It's not like we're making an ordinance.
So do you need to vote on it? It's just a policy thing?
Well, we need to agree to it, and I would think. I don't know, ask the lawyer.
You don't need an ordinance on it.
Well,
This simple majority just to give feedback? What's the procedure?
Well, I think it
would be, an administrative decision up to the council, how you want to do it. Under the Robert's Rules of Order. That's how you want all the voting to be recorded. I don't think it's real complicated. Got one right.
I kind of understand where you're coming from, Brad, and I'll just share my 2 cents on this. I don't think that we're that different in most cases. We might have 1 or 2 that usually is on a case of an ordinance where one might vote different. But usually when it's going through like the bills and things like that, we don't really have a difference. I've never really seen it very often. I think
Most of them will be unanimous, right?
typically, yeah.
Unless we see an error.
Unless there's an error I mean, you can obviously have a discrepancy or ability like today's, for example, when I abstained to vote, it's gonna be not documented in the minutes, but the other thing is too, is as chair, I have the ability to say if it's kind of a questionable vote, if I don't quite catch, okay, maybe it was kind of split, I can have you either repeat it or I can call for that roll call. I don't know if it's necessary personally, the council can choose to do what they want, I'll follow that, but I personally don't know if it's necessary to do a roll call and go through it. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. Well, if not a roll call vote, at least have it on the record of how the voting went.
And I'm okay with that if the minutes are taken. I think it's probably important to have that transparency anyway.
Okay.
And if you have a question on that at all, you can just speak up and say, hey, I didn't catch who was the I and who was they or whatever.
Okay.
And we can address that.
Okay.
Is that agreeable to the council at that point?
I think so.
I'm agreeable.
Thank you. Any other new business? All right, do we have a motion to approve the liquor licenses that were discussed earlier?
I move that we approve the licenses at the pilot and at the buckle.
I'll second.
Motion by Teresa, second by Charles. Any further discussion?
So do you want me to do roll call?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as unanimous. We have a motion to approve the budget on the first reading of fiscal year 25-26. I will give that amount after we get a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dwayne,
Second.
second by Charles. For, as a matter of information, the current number for the general budget is $1,238,949. The budget for the water is $526,884. The budget for the sewer is $149,885. So a self-sustaining total would be $676,769. So sorry, $676,769. And those numbers will most likely change because we have not gotten our information from the state back as of yet. It's a matter of information for the public. Any further discussion on that? If not, I will call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. How did you vote?
Yes, fine.
All in, look, carries unanimous. I just didn't hear Charles, so that's why. Okay, it looks like we have Lori all right. I guess it's gonna be Holly Murdoch in place. She looks like all Lori today. Still got.
We thank you for putting so much
excuse Lori, she's supporting her son tonight in a soccer meet, but a soccer match. We're doing our yearly, making sure that our agreement has snow cone shack set up for that. With the idea that we spend time each day walking to the park, picking up garbage. Sweeping the pad out and those things. So I'm sure that's gonna go as well.
Council,
And I appreciate it. I really appreciate it, because when I go over there and get ready for soccer, you've done most of my work for me, so thank you very much.
I think it's great.
It's a must for me.
Yeah.
And still the location's okay for us to do that. We've got the approval already for the power and we're working out with the county.
yeah, that is.
Please. Yeah, thank you.
We have a motion to approve that.
Probably on the videos really good.
And I think the motion to approve the placing of the snow shack, for 2025, consistent with previous years.
I second it.
By Charles, seconded by Teresa. Any further discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? All these people here, nobody wants to say anything to us? Uh-oh, I knew it was coming. Do you mind coming up here?
It's just very simple. I don't think I had to come up and say it, but I was just wondering. They have the miniature golf down, but. That's put in. Where do you, who's in charge? Where do you get it? If somebody comes in and wants to play there, where do they get?
Talk to Jody.
You don't get.
We have a couple of clubs and a few balls up here that they can.
Yeah.
Take out. And use.
Okay,
bring it back.
I just had a couple of people wanting to know.
Yeah.
It's a pretty nice thing if we get it.
Yeah, and I have lots more plugs and balls downstairs, but yeah, just have that view up. Is there a rental fee on those or no, you just bring it back? Okay.
We just write down who your firstborn is.
It's probably the one who's taking it, so.
Just in case.
No other public comment? This is gonna be quick.
I'm fixing that.
All right, we are into our resolutions and ordinances. We are at the third reading of ordinance 25-01, offenses involving minors. Do we have a motion?
I motion that we approve adoption of Wyoming statute change on this ordinance 2501.
Before we go up to the second, can I just make a comment? Very, it's a good comment. When I was reading this, and then I read any and all future amendments to Wyoming statutes are adopted with no future notice. Thank you.
That should be, yeah.
Yeah.
That should be part of the discussion after.
Well, that's okay. I just never thought of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have a second.
Second. Oh, or not.
Motion by Brad, second by Charles. Now, any further discussion on this? Do I have a volunteer to read it in full?
No. And that's just everything that's in red, right?
Just everything on the whole entire thing that is.
There's no crosstalk. Ordinance 2501, Title 6, Police Regulations, Chapter 5, Offenses Involving Minors. 6-504, Possession of or under the influence of intoxicating beverages. Adopts Wyoming Statute 12-6-101 as amended is hereby adopted by reference and incorporation as if set forth fully herein. Any and all future amendments to Wyoming statute are adopted with no future notice. 6-506, sale and usage of tobacco products.
Pretty good, yeah.
I guess. Oh, it's. Yeah,
It's gonna be like the other room.
yeah, I'm stapled together kind of funny. Okay, and then I had just more. And then it is adopts Wyoming statute, right? Yeah. 14-3-302 -3-304 and 14-3-305. As amended is hereby adopted by reference and incorporation as if set forth fully herein. Any and all future amendments to Wyoming statute are adopted with no further notice, and that's.
Any clarification, either any further discussion?
I'm okay with it.
I'll solve the question, all in favor?
I'm
Aye,
I,
motion carries. Good. We have a motion for the third reading of 25-02 fireworks.
yes, I motion to. What do I just say here again? I motion to approve ordinance 2502 for the third reading.
Have a second,
I'll second.
You want me to read it?
but not a second. Any further discussion?
A quick question. Did that just shorten the window for when we can use fireworks? I can't remember.
Actually, okay, so
Okay.
So we're gonna read it in full. I will give an opportunity for further comment or. Volunteer?
Me.
Okay.
Ordinance 25-02, Title 6, Police Regulations, Chapter 3, Offenses Against Public Safety, 6-305, Use of Fireworks Prohibited. No person in the town of Cofield shall cause, throw, ignite, discharge, or fire any combustible firecrackers or fireworks of any kind, except from June 1st to July 31st of each year, on the following holidays: Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. The hours permitted for fireworks are between 12 p.m. noon and 11 p.m. on July 4th, July 24th, and New Year's Eve, 12:30 a.m.
Any questions for clarification? Any further comment? Any requested last minute edits? Okay, if not, I will call a question.
Have a second here.
Yes, we do. Charles.
Just think about it.
Okay.
I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
4-4, 1 against. Do we have a motion for the second reading of ordinance 25-04 speed?
So there's two different names.
Yeah, I can't remember which one was which. One of them was.
It's the one that's, it's separate, it's it. This one here.
Do I have a motion?
Sure, I'll go ahead and motion ordinance 2504 for a second reading.
Second.
I can second it.
Motion by Brad, second by Teresa. Any further discussion?
Just so there's clarification. Let's put an A and a B option so that we're looking at this one, right? This is the one we want to pass. Versus this one.
I think that's part of the discussion that we are gonna have in the council with when we wanna pass.
Perfect.
For the public's knowledge, we have two basic edits to the ordinance. One of them has some wording that we received in conjunction with our officer and the lawyer. And one of our council members has added some additional wording to that wording. So. Anybody want to,
Read it.
you don't need to read it yet. It's not good. Needing the house clarification between the two.
Just if there's a comment from either legal representative, or law enforcement on the difference or significance.
I can make a comment on the emergency vehicles part. They're already covered under other statutes. I don't think it's necessary to put in our ordinances. I do believe, in my personal opinion, that the wording that was provided by our officer and the town's lawyer is sufficient.
We're saying the same thing, other than
We're
numbers.
saying the same.
Yeah, I just don't think we need to add it's necessary to add the emergency vehicles because it's already covered in their other thing.
That
So that's just what I'm saying.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so the difference is the main difference is, and I agree, you don't need to put that, it is covered under the Wyoming statute. So we can make an amendment to remove that portion. The main difference between the two, it just talks about unposted speed limit and posted speed limit. It doesn't specify locations of where these speed limits are. I don't think we need to justify in the ordinance where these locations are. What if you change that speed limit? It should just be if without it unposted, it's 20 mile an hour, and if it's posted, it cannot exceed 30 mile an hour, which is part of state statute. In a residential zone. Or they word it's in it's urban district, sorry. I believe it's how it's written. Right, urban district.
Yeah, urban district.
So I think it's fine to remove emergency vehicles, just leave it as what unposted is and what posted is. Doesn't matter where it's located. That was the suggestion.
So, just so that we're not doing this with too much, we could approve this on second reading, and the next work meeting, just have a discussion with the points. Is that correct?
I would suggest we do requirements prior to this approval if we can. Frank, whatever we need to strike, add what we need to add. And have it in order on this second one, then ready to go for the third reading. That's what we're here for as a council to discuss this matter and in essence, put them to bed.
I have one question. On this, we're at, Assistant Town Code will accept on Main Street and County Road 207, which shall not be driven at a greater speed than 30 miles per hour. Not that means just going to
That's just what's in city limits.
the states, to the town limits. Okay.
We only have jurisdiction over stuff.
Okay.
So, can I ask the question? So Brad, you proposed that on this one, we strike the parts that says emergency vehicles are exempt only while actively that part.
It's what the rest of the council would like to have removed.
Okay.
So I'm okay with that is what I'm saying. I just don't think we need to specify specific streets that have speed limits. We need to say it's posted or it's not posted. Just to make it easy and readable.
I have a question for you, John. I know it's gonna put you on the spot. But will the wording in these ordinances affect how you approach it in the court case?
I believe so. I looked at both of them. I think it's really, from my viewpoint, either one works. It's just a council choice, so. I mean. Yeah, I think it's just a preference by the council, so. We can certainly work with and enforce either.
I have a question. What if we change the speed limit on one of those? Would we have to change the ordinance?
We have,
If it was written under the other one that actually specifies a specific road?
You mean it on the first one?
Yeah, so I'm basically wondering is if we pass this one that doesn't say a specificness, other than repost it, right? So we go out, we repost the post. Nothing changes, just that new speed limit. If we do this one, it specifies a specific one. If we make a change to it, we now have to make a change to the ordinance. That's my.
Well, it says a main street in County Road 207 which shall not be driven at a speed greater speed than 30. I would read that as being the default. For example, now if you made it higher than 30, yes, you'd have to amend it. But if you posted Main Street or 207, let's say at 25, that would still be enforceable because, yeah, this would be the default. You could go less, but you couldn't allow more without amending.
so, but does the town of Cookville, we don't have the option on there for 30 from Main Street? Where it's.
Don't have an option to raise it higher than 30 mile an hour because the urban district in the state of Wyoming doesn't allow any speed higher as an urban district.
That's right.
So we could lower it, and he's just saying
Right.
it wouldn't matter how that was written. I just thought ready.
Yeah, and that's what I agree. I think it's just a preference on how the council would like it.
Wasn't it?
I don't say no, it's not.
That was gonna be part of my question, where it's a state. Do we have that option, or is that something that
Yes,
why
it
it
does.
sits?
Yes, because it's not a big thoroughfare. There are statutes that.
Right, okay,
Highway 30 is a main thoroughfare. We don't have jurisdiction on that. They have the jurisdiction over the speed limit.
right. Okay.
I do have one question because it was brought up about the stop sign and where it's located on 207.
Which stop sign?
There's three of them.
Not stop sign. I apologize. The speed sign.
Speed sign.
Speed limits,
Weren't we supposed to remove it or move it somewhere?
It got changed.
Oh, it already had.
So in a prior administration, they wanted it to 20, so
Oh, no, I don't mean
I
that. I
thought-
don't mean that. I meant the physically moving location. Someone talked about the location of where that sign was, not the speed.
no, we didn't have to, all we did was change. It's had 20 on there, we put it to 30 because that's what the ordinance read.
right,
So. We're talking, and I can bring some of that up when I'm talking, but we didn't have to move any signs.
Okay, I thought
Basically,
you were talking about it at one point.
No, we need to post another sign,
Oh, post another sign.
yes, but we don't have to. Because there's not a sign coming into town, and there should be a 30-mile-an-hour sign. Coming into town, we have a sign going out of town, not in town.
Gotcha. Okay, that was where I. Sorry. All right.
So at a request, I would like to do is on which of these two we gonna. Let's get that settled first, and then we can still get us on the.
In the sense,
Making the edits in this meeting.
Yeah, there can't be that many, maybe we should be able to have this out, that a few, if that would. Cause I can't wear troubles with those. I would just like to say, Charles, which of the two would you like to work with? Out of those,
No, knowing that the emergency vehicle has been in.
Yeah. I'd like to see both, it accomplishes the same thing, so I don't have to.
I think it's in there.
I just wanna work from one instead of,
I would almost just read what, well, we just want to get set regions out.
yeah, so, but I'd like to get a consensus from the council of when we're gonna work from, so that we can get that second reading on that one, not.
So which one's A, B?
So I would say the one that had the emergency vehicles in it will count as B, the other one was A. That'll help us differentiate if that works.
Perfect.
So, Charles, would you rather work from A or B?
This must be.
Yeah. I mean, I would almost like worse than the language if that was a fork to grab, but A is fine with me. It accomplished the same thing, but.
Good, we got A. Wait,
They both say, basically say same thing, B, or whatever, would you do
Today.
I'll go A two.
And maybe it's because it already has that,
Right, read through, I think, cause it don't matter, either one's.
What's the one you're looking at?
A is the one without the emergency vehicle.
But he said there was something different in the red.
So, yeah, this is written down, so maybe I'm being swayed by the fact that that's.
Well, it's not a first reading on the other one, it would be a second reading of
Yeah.
that adjustment.
Yeah.
So that reading wouldn't matter. If that's the question.
It's really reverse the language to make, to get at what you're looking for.
Teresa, A or B?
Can I ask a question before I decide A or B? Do we have, of course, I live on Sage Street and people think it's 60 miles per hour there, so. I know what it is, because it's posted, but. Do we notice a difference in our unposted streets?
I would tell you my opinion, based on what people tell me. Nobody in town knows what speed limit's on any of our roads.
That's what I hear too. That's what I hear too.
That's just my opinion. And what people voice when I stop them and say you're going real fast. They say, well, what is the speed limit? We're assuming it's 25. Well, because they don't see the signs on Main Street and 207, and so people don't pay attention.
Okay.
I know it's a financial issue, but it would be nicer for us if the roads were posted with a speed limit sign.
So speed limit sign, just for information, speed limit signs are included in that impact fee money. Sign.
So that would make our job easier because everybody could see them when they pull off of the road, so they know how fast they're supposed to be going. People are still gonna go fast.
Yes, they are.
But for a matter of record, that wouldn't affect how this is read anyway.
No, it would.
It wouldn't.
So A or B, you said.
I'm thinking B.
Tiebreaker is gonna be A. I'm gonna just go with A because it's already edited for us. I think, is there any edits we want to make to A? To this? I gotta throw myself, so I don't come. They essentially say the same thing at this point. I think A already had pretty much the strap out as it. So. Any further discussion on this? If not, I'm gonna call the question, all in favor of approving ordinance 25-04?
It's just an excuse.
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. Motion carries. We have the first reading of ordinance 25-05. 5. Nuisance ordinance. We would have a motion.
So it's actually, we want to go about our discuss.
Last week, last month, this
The
week,
counter has the option to vote for whatever they want. I just have to. I make the motion.
I motion to discuss. The nuisance ordinance proposed 25-05.
okay.
Do you have a second? Motion to discuss by Brad. Second by Teresa. All in favor of discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Matter is open for discussion.
I think starting just.
Yeah. So last month, there were two nuisance ordinances that were submitted. One was more focused on residential, the other was more on residential and say public buildings, businesses and so forth. And so this really is a merger of the two. It's not necessarily perfect. And so I hope we could get the conversation started about what should actually be included. The purpose is, the purpose of the ordinance is to protect public health, safety and welfare by regulating accumulation of junk vehicles, garbage and other materials in dilapidated buildings that may pose hazards, create unsightly conditions or negatively affect property values within the town of Cokeville. I think it's very specific about what is, what you can do with your property, what you can't do with your property in terms of what you want to really be implied by the town. So it's patterned after nuisance ordinances, throughout the country, throughout the nation's standard practice. And it's a way that, again, communities maintain property value, just the general aesthetics, both from a private home perspective as well as businesses.
Does it just say what the expectations are, or does it say what ramifications there are as well?
We could read it. Somebody can read it.
I would not be opposed to having a volunteer read it. Yeah.
Before you do that, man, just for the council knows this, but maybe for the public that I thought it was important. That's what I was trying to find out Westlaw. The council has power under 15.1.103 XIX to declare and abate nuisances and impose fines upon parties who create, continue, or permit nuisances to exist. So you clearly have the power and you've worked really hard on this, and I compliment you on that. The other thing is, I think sometimes and everyone is concerned that maybe what they're using their property now will be affected. And the statute that I talked last month about is 18.5.207, and which talks about that a new zoning resolution cannot prohibit the ongoing use of any land, building, or structure for the purpose it was being used for at the time. So if somebody's using the property and they feel it doesn't, fit, or the new nuisance ordinance could affect it, 18.5.207 does provide some protection if it's a non-conforming use. And they quit using it for that non-conforming use for 30 days or more, then they lose that right too, and this can be enforced. So with a new ordinance, like anything, we can't go out and immediately require existing uses to stop and conform to the new one. But I know sometimes that's a concern with the public. Thank you.
And just a matter of clarification, and again, they can keep it in bid, but if they change anything on that property, it now becomes open for.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've only dealt with it, for example, the town of Afton, when they annexed some property, there was somebody, happened to be a family member, that was always raised pigs for the family, and the town wanted to come in and say, well, under our ordinances, there's no pigs. Well, you can't, but if, they had quit, maybe it's a year, something like that. But a certain period of time, then they lose that. It's a little, I've tried to think in my head how that would work with, for example, an abandoned building. You're not really using it for a purpose. But it might still be deemed a non-conforming use, so it could be a little tricky in those types of situations, but. I think as difficult as it is, I'm like anybody else, I don't like the government telling me what I can or cannot do with my property, but the problem is that if I misuse my property, now I'm affecting my neighbor's property, there has to be a balance, and that's why these come into play. I don't think they're always favored, but unfortunately, it's kind of like speed limits. You gotta have them to protect the public. So anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So having your yard full of garbage, is that a non-conforming? If it's already like that, can they keep it that way?
That's the question.
That's not a use.
Is that a use?
Yeah, that's the Charles, that's the dilemma in mind. Like, why is there garbage in your yard? Are you using it for storage? Like, or, I'm not sure how. I think the property owner would need to explain how they're using it. For some kind of like, maybe it's for a home business and they've been doing it for years. But each one would be a little different, but if it's just a mess to have a mess, then I guess my opinion is that's not a use on there, but at some point we can't even address any of it without a use.
Well, I have a question. We already have a nuisance ordinance in play today.
Yes.
We're just trying to make it easy for a 4-year-old to know when you're in violation or not. Basically, is what my hope is for the nuisance ordinance to be done. And to eliminate issues that might arise in the fact of the vape. So my discussion, or what I'd like to discuss about this is, one, I think we need to fine tune some of the descriptions of what, like junk vehicles. I think it should say vehicles and machinery. We do have machinery up, we're talking about a ranch community, so it needs to include both, is my opinion. The other thing is we talk about lumber as a nuisance. But loose, it says, it just says lumber. It doesn't explain like, is this stacked lumber? It's just lumber throwing away. Like, we just need to define that into if we define that, like, let's say my house, I've got lumber, I've just cut a tree down, I just threw it all in my backyard and I just said, what the heck? And how does this, if we wanted to say, no, you can do that, but you need to stack it, organize it, make it look like can't just throw it all over your yard. Would that be enforceable, or does that fall under that same thing you're talking about?
No, it would, again, what were they using it for before, for example? Was it a business use? It's been that way forever. That clearly would be defined as a non-conforming pre-existing use. On there, so.
Well, maybe they sell wood for a living. And they just love to throw it all over their yard. Would that be a covered thing? If we want that to be more organized?
I would say that's clearly a non-conforming use. And pre-existing before this. And it wouldn't affect that as long as they continue to use it in a similar manner.
Make a short comment. So, a couple of years ago, I went to Kimmer's, town council meeting with my cousin, and, well, it was more than a couple of years ago. It's like the second year I was here, but anyway, one of the things they talked about was their nuisance order and ordinance, and one of the things they had was the old automobiles. And then they deemed what was junk and what wasn't, and they sent, they did like 8 months, and it was,
you know, that's what everybody agreed on, but then when things didn't change, they sent other letters, and this one particular person never responded to anything. Well, this person just happened to be gone when the tow truck came and loaded up this junk car and hauled it off. Well, when these people got back from vacation and found out, they went into the police to tell the police that someone had stolen this ancient car that he was remodeling. You probably remember this. Remodeling, doing this, and it was an ongoing thing. And so Kimmer ended up getting sued for that and paid this gentleman back. So those are all things you have to take into consideration before we make these decisions.
Well, and, you know, discretion in this area is very, very important, and working with property owners, you feel like there's like, you haven't given things, and even beyond that, you know, I think there's a lot of merit in just not going out and towing I was smiling because I'm like, that was probably would have been one of my precious treasures, right? That they cut off. So and my wife probably would have been the one that called to have it towed. But so, you know, I think this is, you have a wonderful police department. You know, ultimately, if everything failed, you couldn't work, they couldn't work with a property owner, citation was issued, then still it's up to Judge Jensen to look at it. So as a property owner, I say that there's a lot of safety vows included, and to hopefully prevent situations like you identify.
So, one more, sorry. So one of the comments that was given to me, or I don't remember who was telling me about it, but one of the reasons that they felt like that this was not being enforced is the abatement. And I don't think the town of Cokeville needs to do any abatement. We can remove that, but I do think we need to do a penalty for continuing to not abate it yourself. That way we're not storing things, we're not worrying about insurance liability, moving it, trespassing, all that stuff.
Right? The only thing is I personally like the abatement language. You don't have to use it. It can be there and you could never ever use it. But let's say you have a situation where clearly it's a safety hazard for children. It's what's called an attractive nuisance, and it's a situation where you as the town and the police department feel, and myself, I guess, that something really needs to be done. It needs to be abated for the safety of the community. That could be a very rare and extreme situation, but at least you would have the power to do it.
Well, where would we store it?
Well, that's something we would handle at the time. I mean, if it's a safety and we're putting people at risk, we'd find a place to store it. I mean, okay. That would probably be, we would hope we never needed it, but if it was.
We're at that point, we're gonna have a judge involved anyway.
Yeah, and you know, you got the county has the impound lots, there's private storage, and we hope we don't need it, but.
That's just her story about this gentleman, so I'm just.
Yeah.
You know, I just think we don't need to abate unless, like you say, there's that scenario. But I do think that, and I was reading on there, you can make it to where it would become another offense by continuing, so that would just pile on a fee. If the maximum is $750, I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying that's what we should do, but the maximum is $750, and you were getting this fee every 3 months or month or whatever we decide as a council. Eventually, you're going to be like, I'm gonna get my crap together and get this taken care of, because it's going to go a lien against the property.
Well, you hope, but you know, if we were in that situation, I could see each citation going into the court, and Chief, you correct me, but even some of these traffic citations take 6 months to get resolved. They keep asking for continuances, and if somebody's disputing it, you know, we had a situation the judge brought up recently where they ended up appointing an attorney that cost the town, and we hope we don't have to do that again, but so there could be some problems with just the fines, but it would at least, we'd say, okay, fine, you can have all the continuances you want, but you know, for these reasons, the chief or Officer Stocking would give me a report of what they saw, and you know, why it's a safety hazard. And we would make a decision, fine, we're gonna have it stored somewhere else.
Okay.
That it's just if we don't have it, we don't have that option. And I hope we never need it, we probably won't, but if we don't, if you're changing it, I would like you to keep it in. Just as a safety net.
I appreciate the example of what you're saying, even though it's in there, it doesn't have to be used. So I'm okay with that. I was just thinking why have we not been enforcing this from years ago? That's what I'm thinking. And if that was the reason, then maybe we remove it, if that was their reason. But if we don't have to do that, that's fine. I know the biggest concern for most people is they don't want anyone trespassing on their property. They don't want you just coming grabbing stuff and remove it. And that's gonna be our biggest fight in this town. But clearly, this is a good start. I do think we need to, just like I was doing it on the last ordinance, I do think it just needs to be read in plain English of what needs to be done or what's going on and what's in violation. So that it's just not a bunch of lawyer jargon. So I'm good with it as long as we can fine tune those options.
Then you had a comment.
What is gonna be the process to go through this? I like the fact that you were having some sort of. But in the past, if you wanted to complain about somebody, you had to file a complaint. And then it was up to the officers to go and do this. Do we have, I mean, is the city council gonna be the one that's gonna determine what is? So that every time Wayne's mad at me, he's just gonna turn me in again? Or just see what I'm saying? I mean,
That's a daily basis.
do you guys have, is it, or is this back onto our law enforcement that they're the ones that have to decide? Do you guys have a process of, I mean, we know what it is and everybody knows what the nuisance is, but are you guys gonna be the ones to make that decision? And then he enforces it, or is he gonna be the one? I mean, how are we, that's my question.
I actually have that same question because it's not thoroughly spelled out in this current ordinance, so.
Or you're gonna rebut that you're gonna get mad at me and.
You know what you did to me this afternoon.
You forget to bring him a Pepsi, is that what you did?
My opinion is. It's all gonna come down to one thing. What kind of guts the town council has and what type of kind of guts the town council has to enforce it. Do we have the backbone to do it? Do we have the money to do it? No. But. How good bluffers are we?
Like, Charles is a drafter, and if I read it correctly, there's an appeal process that if it involves both the law enforcement. And if they issue a citation within 30 days, they can first appeal it, which we'd have to let the court know to the town council, has to make a decision. On some, it's 15 days, others it's 30 days. So it would involve, and I'm assuming the way that the intent is, if there's an appeal and it's denied by the town council, then it would continue on in the judicial system.
And I thought, again, there are different approaches because some towns will have, building inspectors, maybe it's their responsibility. I spoke with Kim, I think they said law enforcement, it was their responsibility, which they hated. One option is to contract with the building inspector to appear once a quarter or something like that, come and do kind of audit of the town and violations of nuisance ordinances. So you can't, get angry at your neighbor. And then work with law enforcement and the council to enforce the ordinance. And there are different ways. We really have to have this discussion, so I'm throwing this out.
We discussed this at one time, a couple of years ago, and the suggestion is what Diamond Hill does. Diamond is exactly what you said. They have a person hired out of Logan, who comes over once a month. Well, who drives the alleys, drives the whatever, and gives suggestions of this is why this is a violation. I think as far as like, I think you send out a nuisance notice. They have so many days to comply, or at least let the town know that they're aware of it. And by doing so, they can give us a plan of abatement. If they give us a plan of abatement and we approve the plan, then we don't need to continue. We just let it happen. The biggest thing is you just need someone to say, hey, I'm gonna take care of it. It's gonna take me 30 days. This is the reason why. And we all as a council are gonna look at that and go, that's reasonable. Let's get it. Sure. You're good for 30 days. Do you want to take like? I think we can make this very simplistic. But I think people who just ignore our notices, that's when fines and other things should occur. Just simply ignoring it is not right. If you want to reply and say, hey, I'll take care of it, there should be no fine. That's how I feel. Probably in just an hourly range.
Kind of for John, maybe to answer this. I own this property and it's all junkied up. And your council is up here trying to get it so it's safe. That's a key thing, right? Making that property safe for those around it. If I took that property of mine and I put up signs all around it, no trespassing. Do not enter. Hazards exist. Have I not taken care of the safety problem for anybody getting into it? Yes or no?
Well, it's not, I'm an attorney. I don't think I've ever answered anything yes or no. That's why I told on you, except to my wife, so.
And
Well,
you that battle anyway, so.
You know, well, here's what I would probably say to you. Okay. So we agree that there's dangerous condition and you put up these signs. That's great. That may keep me or Tim out, right? Because Tim's the one we're worried about. But what about a 5-year-old? What about a neighbor's grandson, you know, a child or something? So, you know, I would appreciate you saying or doing that, but there may be situations where we go, under the law, there's something that's called an attractive nuisance. I don't know, there was a terrible case up in Afton where Silver Star had some sand stored in the middle of town. And a child dug a cave and died from it. And they got sued over that because what they said was, you know, you got all these little children playing around. Yeah, and you had it posted, no trespassing, but these children don't pay attention or can't read. And we as adults should know that if we create a dangerous situation, we have to do something to protect the children. So that would help, but I don't.
I'm just saying under safety, you know the extremes. If I own that property, put a fence that wouldn't allow kids in or nothing, and yet it's still a mess if you look over the fence.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's where it comes in because right, you're thinking this is this is our property. We worked our whole life and paid for it, and now the government, sorry, Mayor, is going to come in and tell us we have to do something differently. And so that's why I say you have to tread lightly because of, in my view, people's property rights and you know, as Brad was pointing out, I don't see it a lot of or everyone coming back saying, okay, I'll do this or that because there's probably going to be differing opinions on what, you know. Tim may think that old 72 rusted out Buick is artwork. The town may be viewing it as junk, and so there's, you know, it's never really easy. And so,
What about critters? Just saying,
Yes.
no, critters.
What I'm saying is just,
Throwing the garbage out so much that you're basically attracting all this kind of.
I know how important it is, but I'm just saying, you know, what extreme are we going to go to? Because you know it's going to get into the legal part of it. I don't know whether the town of Coalville can afford John full time.
that hurt.
Sure.
Tim, you had a comment.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I think this is something the town needs, though, I mean, for the town of Cokeville, and I think just like what Wayne says. We hope you guys have the guts, but I want to thank you for doing this, and I think this is something that as a community that we need. It just shows pride in our community. And I appreciate you guys, and I want to thank you for at least addressing this.
Because it started, go ahead, Dennis.
I have one question, is there a difference between lots with homes and the business district? If a business is not using the building, like you said, there's a certain time that they could do that, but it reaches a place like the public buildings or the commercial buildings that are abandoned or something. And all these kids, I know can't stop at all, but these rocks in the last 2 months have been going through windows, you guys know about. And a young kid's gonna, once they see an opening, they wanna go in. That landowner, it might be his property, but if a kid goes in there and something serious happens to him, he's pretty liable.
So as far as what I read on this, Dennis, right now, it's all properties in town. It'll encompass all of it. Businesses and personal properties. So one question I have for clarification is. You guys have heard me ask this question before, who's gonna do it? And what's it gonna cost? So I think in order for us, we can put all the ordinances out there. But they do no good if we don't have somebody that's gonna do it. Or follow through with it. And we don't know what it's gonna cost the town or benefit the town either way. So I think we need to clarify that, especially with this ordinance. If that makes sense.
I think, we've got this ordinance and I've read through it and it's good. And I think we need to kind of handle this with kid gloves. Approach the individuals. And I'm willing to do this. Approach them in a nice manner, proper manner. Tell them what our problems, like, what we've been having issues with the town. And just talk with them. And see how they take what we said, see if they take it into consideration. If they don't, if all they want to do is fight, we just tell them, well, then we've got to come through, we got to push the ordinance. And if you want to settle this in court anyway, it's totally up to you. We're coming to you in a civil manner and if there's any way that you can get stuff piled up there where the town of Cokeville could help you haul it off, I'm willing to go that way too. Because there's just, who I'm talking about, but now it's one across the street and it's forming on the other side of the street now. So, but I think we just need to handle it in a way to begin with. A way we can try to get along with these individuals.
I do have something to say with that. I can tell you that when myself out for stalking walks up to somebody, they're not thinking that we're there for a nice reason. I don't have a problem doing that, but people are contentious with us when we tell them stuff.
And I'm not putting you on the spot. I was saying me.
I'm just saying,
councilman.
if we want to approach them as trying to be nice, it probably isn't the best place to go, because people get defensive immediately when we show up.
I understand.
Right?
Well, I don't blame them. You took their 100 pounds of drugs.
No wonder the neighbor was fighting too. Yeah, it was supposed to go around.
But I do like the idea of trying to approach people and say, hey, is there something that we can do? Is there something we can maybe help with? To try cleaning the place up. And everybody knows who you're talking about, because everybody talks about it. That's the one, but I'm telling you right now, they are not the only ones in town.
No,
That are having, they are the most visible because it's on that main street. That's it. That's why everybody sees it. They were a block up north. Nobody would say anything about it because they don't see it.
And there's two of them block north.
Yes, there is, but nobody brings them up.
No, there's plenty.
But they need to, but they need to be.
So, but that is the
Road
most,
crossings.
so everybody says it.
But this covers residential and commercial, right?
Yes.
This is really the way I envision it. This is something that an everyday person just going down the street, you're seeing it. If it's behind a fence. And it's not something we're seeing, or it's in a garage and it's not danger to the public as far as, but I don't think. Anyway, but the other question I was gonna ask you on a business sense. When you have part of your roof falling down. And it's a danger, even though we keep trying to profit.
You might.
When does the city say, hey, that's our sidewalk that this is on? And this could fall on somebody. And when do we finally say this you either need to tear it all the way down or fix it? Because to me, that is a bigger danger than almost other things that are out there. On some of these businesses, like my dad was explaining that they're just ignoring them. They might not even live in the town, they might even live in a whole nother state. And they come and visit twice a year and they pay the local kid to mow the lawn once in a blue moon. But the actual dangers are there. And those are things that I think are a bigger concern to me than this. I mean, I don't like the look of it either, but that's not my biggest concern.
Wayne, you had a comment?
Yeah, I've lived in a lot of other places besides Cokeville in my lifetime. And in a lot of scenarios that I've seen or heard from or talked to other people, a letter was sent out by the city that said, hey, you're not complying with our rules and regulations, our nuisance ordinances or whatever. And you have 30 days or whatever to clear that up. If not, we're gonna have to proceed to enforce those ordinances. Nobody has to personally go over. These guys don't have to personally go over there and accost them or whatever, because they don't want to see the cops pulling up at the door. Everybody knows what place you guys are talking about, but there's a lot of others. There's one down by me that's been a junkyard for 31 years on residential property. I'm sorry, but residential property should not be a junkyard, period. Whether anybody's living on the property or they're not living on the property. Vehicles that don't run, haven't been licensed. That's an ordinance in every place I've ever lived. And they've sent letters out. In Ogden, where my in-laws live, they sent a letter out to them and said they needed to pave their driveway because their vehicles might leak oil and get in the ground. So they had to spend $30,000 and pour concrete for the driveway. So if it can be done in Ogden, it can be done in Cokeville. Plain and simple.
Yeah, just turn it off. Just trying to make sure it's working.
I think it's just when somebody on that side of the room talks.
Yeah.
So close to the mic. It echoes in me.
Just a small thing, the Republican Party in Lincoln County, one of their resolutions was the government couldn't be involved in takings of private citizens, meaning that they could do something that has an adverse effect on the property values of a public without just compensation. And so if I don't take care of my house and it lowers the property values by my neighbors by $30,000, that's theft. And so the safety part is a big part of it, but it's like a takings that we inflict upon each other when we don't take care of our things. We did the old assessment a couple years ago, and it was one of the number one things people in the community that responded wanted to see. They said, well, we portrayed ourselves a certain way to the public. And we had one of my friends came here a couple of years ago for the 24th, drives down, and we don't see it because we see it all the time. Drives down Main Street. She says, what is happening to both of them? And we all see it. And so this is a step towards becoming, there's still more what we used to be, but certainly what we would like to be as a community. So it's worth thoughtful discussion and helping people that need the help to restore. This is going to cause a lot of work if we're trying to serve our neighbors and help them out, things like that. I think that's part of this equation. Last year we went to people on Main Street, and the chamber said we'll give you $1,000 match to improve the facade of the front of your building. We didn't even have a response. So we've done the good care of it. And so this is a little different approach to get a result that is, very important. I think we're going to this community.
I 100% agree with what Blaine said. I think it's going to be a little bit tricky to all of a sudden try to place this ordinance where it's already been in place, but we haven't really been using it, or has it not been in place?
There's one in place, but
It's not.
But it's not being used.
This is just to replace the wording, really, it's not replacing a whole new ordinance.
Right.
Wording it different.
And I don't really know how town council works or how anything works, but I wonder if you could send something out with the water bill saying, this is an ordinance that's been in place. We are now going to enforce it so that it goes to every home.
Kind of a soft warning.
Yeah. And then I don't think it's a bad idea to just get a quote of how much it would cost to bring somebody from Diamondville, to do that, just to see. Otherwise, I think that's a great idea, Wayne, and to say, we'll help you out, because maybe it'd be more cost effective to say, we'll haul your stuff for you than to hire somebody to come and tell them for them. But I think it's a good idea. And if it doesn't cost too much money, to send something out to every household in town.
yeah, I'm gonna take a few more comments and then we gotta start going the other way. Go ahead.
For me, from a police officer's wife's point of view, anytime that he approaches somebody in this town, all of a sudden they become, I'm their enemy now. And if Wayne or anyone else in the city council approaches somebody like that, you and your families will be an enemy to that person, and it causes more and more contention. I agree with Buffy. Anytime that you have a bill that comes to your house, they tell you how much it is and they give you a notice on it. If it's not paid within 30 days, they send you another notice. Any business runs that way. The town of Cokeville should be the exact same way. I don't think you should go door to door. It'll affect you and your family, your wife and kids. That's honestly how I feel about it.
Tracy, you're right. But I've lived here all my life, and I know most all the people, and some like me, some don't. I really don't care. Tim, shut up. There's one thing I must say. I'm not afraid to approach that. Because if I act in a properly manner, that's their problem if they get irritated with me. That's not my problem. I'm just I was elected here by the town of Cokeville to do what I think is right for the town of Cokeville. And if I've got to go confront someone, I'm willing to do that. Whether it causes hard feelings, whether it causes hate and discontent for the rest of my life, I really don't care. That's their problem, not mine. I'm doing what I feel is best for the town. But I appreciate your concern. Thank you.
Just one last thing. I don't know if it's an ordinance or not, but if you notice, all these little towns around now, and by the little ones, I mean like Preston and towns that size of Utah. Montpelier. Hassan's probably got a few, maybe not as many. You got buildings that were business, because of economics, they've had to close. But I don't know what Randolph has, but how many of you notice what's happening in Randolph when you go through the town? They're upkeeping, I mean, there's an old store there. They have stuff in it, you swear it was open, they keep it nice, and they got an area they fixed down with the wagons and that, but when you go through Randolph now, the last probably 5 or 6 years, there's really been a big difference in abandoned buildings. I mean, they just don't have to walk on, they can do something with, if it's just paint pictures in the window, but Randolph would be, I don't know if they have an ordinance or not, but next time you go through Randolph, look on the right side of the abandoned buildings there and see that they look like they're lived in.
I know Miss Cameron's been the same, but they've done a bunch of murals on some of them, like, and I'm all for it. The only thing I would kind of caution, we can go out and help somebody, but it's kind of a one-time deal. We can't just keep. I mean, you want to put a hand out and help people. We've done this in Coca 100 different times through our church activity, which I'm not trying to bring any church here, but I'm just saying where we've gone out and we try to help somebody and a month later, they're exactly back where they were. I don't think the town should continually keep wasting money and resources on continuing to do that all the time. I think it's great to do it once. And once we get this all going, and that's just kind of my feedback on that.
But anyway, so you know, I think the how there'll be a lot of different approaches the council and all of us will take, but once you get it, for example, I thought what I would envision, and I know the place that was referenced to. My wife and I came through Cokeville the other day and noticed the same thing as everyone else. And when did that happen? And it is a, you know, I can see that being a concern for the town and for property owners and health, safety, and welfare. But there's a lot of options if you pass it. For example, we could contract with as the attorney. What I would, if there's an issue, I would ask that it be investigated. And a report provided to us so that then I make a decision we do, and we can send out letters, and we can do that a lot of different ways. I agree, you don't want tie up your local law enforcement officers. It's difficult, but we could contract with somebody from Emmer, Diamondville, an officer that wants to make a little extra and they wouldn't have to come do an inspection. We could direct them, go, hey, you know, we've had some complaints on this. It's pretty obvious. Would you mind doing an investigation, take some photos, look at it, and then give us a written report if you believe it's a health, safety, and welfare issue or health and safety. And then we make a decision what to do. And I think we could keep the costs down. And then we would, or before that, we could just say, okay, let's send out a letter and try to resolve it that way.
Can I just make a quick comment? A quick one.
Very cool.
So the letter thing, that sounds wonderful. I was sitting in there when Rose was mayor and they were talking about something that needed to be done. And what they decided was to put a letter in the mail with the water bill. And one of the things I noticed, I mean, when it's time for water bills in Cokeville, I can tell you exactly where most of them are. They're in the garbage post office. And so when people were reminded, how about, why didn't you, we didn't get that message. It was in your water and sewer bill. Oh, I never look at it. I just throw it away because I know what it's going to be. When it went up, I did one of those. You know, I didn't know that it was going to go up when we first moved here. So I just paid the normal amount. So, but they have there's a lot of those water and sewer bills go right in the garbage at the post office. People don't even look at it. So,
We've went through quite a lot of discussion on this matter. I'm gonna close the discussion on this. I will entertain a motion to approve. Or table or whatever the council would like, but I think we need to move on with the agenda today.
I'll make a motion to approve nuisance ordinance number 25-05.
Motion by Charles, second by Wayne. Since we've already fully discussed this, I think we'll leave that off the table and just call it to question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Looks like the motion is unanimous. Go forward with that. Before we get into reports, I want to take a 5-minute recess. So we need to have a motion for that. We can just recess for 5 minutes. I need a break for a second. I gotta stand up.
It's almost like
You just want. Are you doing
Good call.
You're now.
Yes.
I just.
No. I know.
That's not true. Maddie actually came in and the ref caught that.
If town was.
It's easy for someone to very few things you're finding.
I understand. Man, salary. Don't want us to give that. This side is.
My God, so who's gonna think about that?
I think that's what I did.
In 10 minutes.
Yeah, just if there's maybe.
That's one part.
Mine works is. And I go, I am. That's like.
And it's just, it's the ordinance thing, I don't know. All I think is that no, that's something that does. We had no.
Almost.
Well, you're still on that. It was just, it's nice as a sort of whatever if you are gone.
It's like.
Thank you, everyone. I needed that very bad.
I don't know what's on the floor, so I can't go for sure.
This chair.
We'll reconvene. We will move into reports from officers, boards and committees. We'll start with Councilman Nate. Yeah, there's these are skipping grounds.
Yeah, just real quick. There's some concerns about some potholes that has been brought to attention. We've talked with the director of our public works director. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're gonna be, with the way the weather is, we don't know anyway. So I don't think it's probably wise. Just still full of dirt to just dig them out in a week. So if we can just kind of hold off with that, I think that's the great thing we're doing there. As far as ground go, we did discuss more spraying during the summer to keep the thistle weeds out of the park. I know that we have been spraying, but we've been kind of continually just having that, not really getting rid of it 100%. So hopefully we can try to make the grass much better. So other than that, I think everything's good, and I want to commend all of our public works for their hard work.
So, yeah,
That's it.
Teresa, you have any park recreation or economic development?
I'm gonna miss my economic development meeting tomorrow, but one thing I can say is that just, everybody is just talking with everybody. They're kind of standing back because they're really not sure what's gonna happen with some of the decisions that President Trump has made, and then with the money thing that the state of Wyoming has done. And so they're kind of just standing back and watching what's going on. One of the things that we've been getting some good advice and clarity, and more clarity is needed on the master plan. And it's good that every single one of us, no matter what department we're in, that we share everything with each other, because maybe Wayne has something that would be maybe several years going on, but it's a good way to start looking at things. And then when we write those down, we can put them in the slot they belong in. And sometimes you can't always do what's easiest to do. You've got to have priorities. What is the most important thing that needs to be done right now? Sure, this other thing would be fantastic to do, but maybe we need to wait a little while. So let's put that over here. And then as we do other things, then we can move them down from here. And so any ideas anybody has as far as the master plan, I'm really open to them. And so it's been quite a learning experience. I did want to great minds think alike, I guess, because I was concerned about the thistle and the little trees that are growing in the park. And all the little kids like to take their shoes off and they get their little feet full of stuff. So one of the things that, Mike, does the city have like a big strainer thing? I know I use one in my yard because the kitties they have the best, potty place in our sand over there, and kids are down and playing in it all the time. And if we had something so we could set that up when we're pulling weeds out, we can help get rid of a lot of that. So I didn't know if we had any, or if anything like that is available. So,
Yeah, we don't have any 52.
okay, all right. So, and then the last thing on the parks is, we need to kind of decide on what we can do with the Legion Park. If we can, it'd be nice to go up there and prune the trees and fix stuff, but if we're gonna have an issue with, question for you, as many years as we've had that Legion Park, and it's not that's just what they call it, but it's not owned by the Legion. It was actually donated to the town of Cokeville by Diamonds. But as many years as we have been there, but as many years as we have done there, and then they donated it to the town of Cokeville. But as many years as we've had that, it goes through Shane and Laura's property, and it goes through Cook's property. do we have access to that by just as many years as we've had it?
So you don't have legal access.
There's no granted right away.
Yeah, the infamous case about 15 years ago, a cattle company did away for the most part with adverse possession easements. So if, you know, my recommendation would be to negotiate with the landowners to get an easement. You do have the power of eminent domain to get access through there. You still have to pay the property owner the fair value, but it's always best to just try to negotiate something.
Yeah. I noticed when we've been up there a couple of times last fall, there's I guess I'm gonna have to have Mike. I'm gonna have to bake Mike his favorite cake or pie to get you up there to get my thing for my Dutch ovens, please. So we can have that, but there are people who go up there. I know kids go up there a lot, and there's always a lot of junk that we get from there. We kind of forget that it's there. And so I think we just need to decide what to do, and because it's like the redheaded stepchild, it gets forgotten. So, and I think that's all I have tonight.
Water, sewer, airport.
I was with Mike and the engineer today down at the new water well down there, and it's in pretty short order to be functioning, right, Mike? Yep. And just waiting to work some issues out with some prices and stuff as far as the school system goes. But they took a test, chlorine test today. Did you, Mike?
No, just
Vacuum.
The vaccine test, was it?
vaccine test.
Okay. And you won't know the results of that for
Friday, probably.
okay. But everything looks, you know, there's a lot of funky things in that building. But it's coming together pretty fast, and I'd say within the next couple of weeks things should start happening. Sewer's doing good. The airport, I was at the airport yesterday, took a drive down one end to the other, and it looks good. It's actually holding up pretty good. But you still have them complaints as people land on it because it's gravel. That's all they can do. And then one other thing too, I want to compliment Charles. I've read through this thing here. The town Cookville 2025 priorities. He's done a good job with it. And I just want to compliment him on that.
There we go.
That's it.
Charles?
I'll start with planning and zoning, but last night was my first meeting, and so I'm learning as I go and acquire Brewer's help with this. And Aaron Dockstetter submitted a building permit for on the 260 Wyman for a barn minimum. And it's 1550 is the total square feet, 900 on the main slab on weight 30 by 30. Anyway, it met all of the requirements, and so it was, I guess, approved or recommended by the.
They approved it.
We recommend.
They approved, they recommend to approve it. What they do. And then we go over here.
So anyway, that's a new building that will be going.
So that would be his cross. We just need to have a vote to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
I have a question before that, sorry. If it's already done, why do we need to approve it?
It's just a matter of clarification. They don't.
Cause I thought if they approve it, there's nothing we really can do about it anyway, right?
One, I think what he's you're the only one that really can approve it. You delegated to them the authority to make recommendations to you.
Okay.
Because they could recommend that you approve it, you can look at it and say, we're gonna deny it. Yet with specific reasons, but.
Okay.
So,
I just do.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Also,
Second by- Motion by Wayne, second by Charles, any further discussion? They're all in favor?
Aye.
you'll have to comment on these other two if you don't mind.
I have some information, new information since yesterday on them, so I would be glad to go forward with those. You want me to just take the top?
Yes, good.
Okay. So on the next one, we have a petition to vacate 7th Street between Pearl Street and Hunter Way. From Ryan and Jamie Tykert. I did hear from the county today. I spent all afternoon in the courthouse. There's still a lot of questions. I'm just gonna give you all the information I have and I'm gonna let you kind of choose which way you want to. They recommend that you do a title search on all the properties adjacent to the roadway, even though it's all your stuff, they still recommend having a title search done. They've also recommended that we publicly, if we choose to do this, we put it out for public comment, and we have to publish it in a newspaper. I think they said for 2 weeks. Just so everybody's in board here. And then we have to verify ownership, and that's part of the reason for the title search is verifying all the ownership of the properties that are adjacent to or affected by this vacation. Any questions on that?
Where it's just, all the, as far as the town's concerned, all this is the access road through there. But it's through private property.
It's not even a developed road at all.
Yeah. John, how much? There should be no problem, should it?
no, you still have to follow, there's a specific, and I can't quote it for you, statute on vacating. Property and it goes along with the publication and,
There's 4 or 5 steps.
yeah.
But it's never been a through road.
Well, it's still property that's under the control or ownership and of some interest of the town. And so I think that you would, I think the purpose of that statute is make sure the public, everyone's aware. And give, them the ability to comment. So
The purpose of the title search is to verify ownership, so
Is it? When you look on the county maps, is that not accurate with?
Existence with it.
Ownership as far as. Title searching, or is that? Are they separate? Like, I mean, is that not accurate on the county maps?
if I may,
Yes.
most surveyors, because I had this in a case, will tell you, do not rely on a county map.
Okay.
So, not in any way discouraging them, but yeah, and I don't know, because I have an O&E report ran once in a while, and I think last time I used it on a case, the title company charged us $150. Because they know right where to look, and then they give you an opinion, and then everyone can rely on it, and if there's a mistake, then we have a title company, so, but I mean, I don't think the town wants to charge you any extra costs, it's just.
and part of the reason is so that we can get all of the proper property labels to carry to the county to get it remapped the right way.
Okay.
So we have to have all those title numbers or descriptions of however they've got those explained to carry them to the, so if we vote to vacate it, we have all the proper information to take to the county, so they can fix their maps to the best they're doing.
So I need to give the title company, do the title search on all adjacent properties.
To the roadway that we're vacating.
Yes. And then I bring it back to the next meeting, or where do I go after I get the title searches?
Bring it, you could bring it and submit it to Jody, so we
Okay.
have that record, and then we'll carry forward with the next meeting.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
it could take a month or two. I'm sorry, I've never been through this before.
I haven't either, so it's me.
I'm just trying to get all the information I can out there for you that. And we do it right the first time. We're not doing it 7 times. You know what I mean?
On your tax record stuff, are you paying taxes on that ground?
Yeah,
What,
well,
what your,
so
Just with the,
Ryan and I own some of it, just the two of us, and then the other properties that are adjacent are owned by myself and my 4 siblings, and we are paying property taxes on all of them.
but there's different owners.
Yeah, Ryan,
Okay.
Ryan and I are separate owners, and then myself and my 4 siblings own the other. Yes,
But you'll have to get deeds and everything. Yeah.
so. You approach any title company or,
It's your choice.
okay,
Yeah, that's 100% your choice. They're gonna want some kind of general specifics. You're gonna probably have to take them, but basically the drawings he gave us, and
okay,
all that kind of stuff. And I did have a little bit of information that I got from the county that might get you started, and I'll gladly give it to you.
okay,
But just so you know, I wouldn't recommend personally to the council, they can do what they feel like is necessary, but I wouldn't personally recommend us making a vote on it yet until we have the right information coming
Yeah.
back. Is that agreeable to you?
sure. I mean, does it, so when it has to go through 3 meetings, does this count as the first one or not until I have all that and come back? So,
Not until the first time we vote on it would be the first meeting.
okay, so hopefully. Maybe
Hopefully
next month.
we'll have it by next month. It's just a matter of how good your title company is.
Don't get in a hurry, Jamie.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
The government moves fast, I'm sorry. There any questions on this from the council? What's kind of happening? It's gonna make sense.
I do have a question.
Good.
So vacate doesn't mean we're just handing it over, or is there a sell of that property, or
So
how is that all?
I guess that's the one thing I need to clarify.
Yeah.
So if the title search produces the fact that we actually own the road, then part of that process of us choosing to vacate it and part of that publication is we have to open it up to the public to comment, 1, and then 2, we have to open up to basically sell. And from what was explained to me, and John, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, the adjacent property owners have first right of refusal. After that, if they refuse, then it goes to public bid, which I don't know who would want to buy that section of road. Unless they were the property owners that are adjacent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just want to know how that process is work.
That's how they've explained it to me, but I don't know. This doesn't happen every day, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that.
Mayor, you know better than I, but I haven't looked at that for a long time, and there is a question whether you have ownership or just an easement.
Yeah.
Most of it.
And that's what we don't know. There's the records of the county are not, that's to be very clear, because there's, to my knowledge, that particular section, there are 3 different subdivision names to what I've done. So. Who owns that road? It may be in any of those, it may not be, and it just may be a right of way agreement that is there, we don't know. And the shape of it has changed over 3 different maps as well.
Yeah, it looks really weird.
So,
You know, maybe the owner, if when they contact the title company besides the adjacent landowners. If they could clarify, because they're going to look at all those records and give their opinion as the town owned the property, which it sounds like if they're paying property taxes, it sounds to me more like it's an easement or right of way. And so, but if the title company could say, no, there's a deed where the town got the property or an easement, that would sure make it a lot easier.
Yeah, and that's what I think the title search is kind of designed to do. That all clear as mud to everybody now? Like, this is like complicated waters, just so you know. Thanks for your patience, Jamie. It's tough. It's been tough. I think with that, I think we probably wait till the more information comes forward.
So no motion yet. We're just leave it alone. I don't know, ask her. No,
I think you could just leave it.
just leave it. It's just not, it's not.
Should say, yeah. Mine is all showing.
Yeah, I like that.
They need to come and pump these.
The next one we have has two separate parts, and we gotta address them as two separate parts. The first part is Blaine and Sherry Camp are requesting the rezone of 4 building lots they have that are currently zoned residential. That borders their existing property, in fact, it's same property basically. And they want to have it rezoned into 1 residential agricultural lot. They have attached signatures of support from the immediate neighbors. So they have all that taken care of. Is there any question on that part of it? I will add a little matter of clarification on there. There is no loss of revenue to the town because it's still deemed residential. So as far as the tax revenue, it's still the same.
Is this mainly to be really named agricultural?
What residential?
I know that they want to rezone it for residential agricultural, but is it mainly to be used for the purpose of agricultural?
Yeah, but it's not big enough to meet that. Well, there's 2 things. If they're requesting residential ag, which is no difference of the cost of the town revenue to.
I understand.
Residential.
Their current property is residential ag, so they basically maintain their entire property as same.
How much agricultural would go on the lots that are approved for the size?
Dictated by ordinance. You can only have, I gotta read it, I don't know, it's like a couple animal units per acre or something like that.
Okay. Must be really small lots.
Yeah. This one.
The whole property is 0.83 or 2 acres or something like that.
0.83 is what the county says, but I don't know if they're right.
Yeah. Minimum lot size for residential ag is 0.75. Which probably wouldn't matter until he goes to sell the property anyway, because it owns the adjacent property, so it's all.
I do have a question for the lawyer. Can you make a conditional use where if it's sold, then it moves back to residential?
No, I don't believe.
How do they look at Delby? When a property's sold?
I mean, once you approve a zoning change, that carries on perpetuity. So
We tell the property owner requests it. Right. There is,
and what sorry, it would be, there's a lot of cases, and county did this recently, and I had pointed out. Be a taking in a way, because there's cases on the east and west coast where people were, or entities were saying, we will rezone it. However, you have to give an easement to a beach or a park. And the US Supreme Court said you can't commit a rezoning on that, that's a taking. So in a way, that's what we would be doing, is saying, okay, we'll rezone it, but if you sell it, then it goes back, so we're taking some of that value away, so we could be in violation. And that's like a law school test, Brad. I'm taking the day for me, but
I'm trying to help you, buddy.
I'm trying to hurry. Any further questions on this part?
Oh, I make a motion to accept it.
We have a second,
I second it.
no further discussion, I'll call the question, all in favor?
I,
Like, sorry, does this go through 3 readings?
Yes. Don't change, so it's an ordinance.
Okay. Aye.
Motion unanimous. The second part of this deal is they're requesting to vacate a short section of Pearl Street, which is basically from the corner of Hunter Way to the south end of that. Part of the discussion that I had with the county today was they recommended that we probably don't do this, but the council can again.
So why didn't they go?
Where's the map that shows this?
I'm trying to find the face here, sorry.
It's the green area.
The paper clip is slightly.
So is that road showing it is straight? Is that what that's showing?
right into your.
There's not even a road past the corner of Hunter Way.
But it's showing the right, they have to look straight.
We own this one, we are pretty certain that we own the road. That section. Again, if the council decides to go down this avenue and do vacate it. Same principles go into effect as the other one. We'd have to have a title search done, all adjacent property owners. The adjacent property owners would then have the first right of refusal, all those things. There was the reason why the county basically said that they would recommend not is because that is the only road to go south. I'm just putting that out there. I didn't look at that originally, but again, back to that same question you already asked of the lawyers, and we can't put a condition on it if we choose to vacate it, that it comes back, it sells or does things like that. And that's part of the reason why that recommendation was made. I don't.
No, Kobe,
Yeah.
if it was. Rest of the county's concerned, if sometime in the future the property went somewhere else, even if the town did expand that way, the town would still have to get a right of way through there with the road.
Correct.
I mean, it's not an automatic give, they'd still have to put in for a right of way.
Correct.
So the county's thoughts in that, if town expands, either way, they'd have to get a right of way.
Correct. The only caveat to that is that there's already a portions already established, which. This is one of those kind of unique cases because you own both sides of it already. Other than the lot 3 there is owned by the Hendricks.
On that road, that extent on going on to the Pearl Street. In Hunter Way. All the town has on that is an easement accessing that, right?
On Hunter Way.
They don't own the road.
I think they've been,
All right, Mike?
I don't think the town ever took it over.
I don't think, because I was on the council then, and we never took that over. It was
that's years ago, Mike came back. And they did some stuff, we need to clarify, but I believe that they accepted the road on the underway, but they did not accept the utilities.
It was on his clock, and it was approved.
So the road is his.
So it's,
It's now the town. It's now the town.
Is there any utilities going through that land right now?
that section of green.
Yeah.
I would have to ask mine. Well, is there any utilities going through that sector of girls? You have a copy of it?
Yeah, no.
There's nothing there.
There's a lot of it. Some.
But that's where the water we can get expanded.
Just around that. It doesn't go where you're talking about.
Better way, it goes on Pearl Street down.
Potentially, yeah, right.
Logical.
Where was it?
That was one.
It was every conversation.
Dead end with my fence. Oh, okay, yeah, that was my issue. I know one like that. So
I think it's
built.
Now it comes here.
Anyway,
And then it doesn't.
it was an access or a access.
Because you know.
Yeah, that may be well. I don't.
It's never a war. I did read something about it today, so I can't remember exactly, but he had
Down
a year after the ground was out there, you know, the fire and then the town corner, so much of it. So, yeah, there was never water past Seventh Street there going this way. Until I established you. Then they brought. I think if I remember right, it did say it was in the town.
So I remember reading that same thing, and I just don't remember how they acted, but I'm pretty sure it ends up being the town.
And it even specifies how many feet is there.
Right.
It goes, never remember Dennis Street.
No.
That's somewhat.
Well, you, yeah, or you could have still come this way.
But I would have had to run that myself.
Discussion, questions, thoughts.
Well, it's in there now.
This was talked before.
My discussion is like.
So we're not, I went around there, surveillance point that day, and the water was files down along those lots.
No.
I think it's the council's decision to have this.
Yeah.
Kind of gracefully let you guys discuss that. I think that.
Well, we already. Well, we're on one.
Yeah.
I say the other, let's table till we get further information. Just table, 2 years on Pearl.
What information do we need?
Well, we need to know if we own it. Well, because it's a easement.
According to the county, what the county said today, we moved that road,
Put it in the bid right.
15 years,
They called it a,
since Pearl was,
established street.
it's established street.
Yeah, but it's always ended. Right there where it ends now, where the pavement ends.
But this is, the reason why they say that is because they originally did the street layouts. That was one of the original thoroughfares that was in there. And it ended at that point. Now, whether it was paved all the way to that point and maintained all the way to that point, that's the. And I'm kind of like Brad. I don't want to have to send blame for the expense and the work and the effort if it's not gonna get approved. But I would like the council to have that discussion.
Yeah.
And come to that conclusion. I don't feel like it's my place to set that far.
Well. It's a hard thing because you want to be able to help people. But on the other hand, if there's potential growth, you're gonna want that road.
Well,
And
Joe,
and even if
don't get it any further.
there's a reason why the town got it in the first place. I don't think we want to go backwards. I'm agreeing, I guess, with the county in saying that I would probably lean more not to. Unless someone can give me a good reason why I should.
That's my thinking. Yeah, you don't want to box yourself in, you don't want to reduce your options. For the future, like I mentioned. I mean, do we have all the information we need to make a decision?
Is all. There's, I don't know what's ground there.
How much information more we can provide at this point without going through the extra regular.
How much ground is there? It's not, they're not very much. Oh,
I can try.
About 6,500 square feet, ballpark. The thing of it is, no matter what, that street can't go any further than my property without you declaring eminent domain anyway, because I'm not selling it. So.
Well, as you know, Pam Gabby said last night, it's just, you know, when we're all gone, we gotta think about, you know, that next generation, what can you make the decisions, considering them as well. Because it doesn't seem like the
next generation.
It hasn't changed in 70 years. You think it's gonna change in the next 70?
It could.
But even if it changes,
No matter what, you still have to claim eminent domain because it's not going anywhere.
because the town don't own it.
Well,
But real quick, my opinion is there are things that we don't know and we can't foresee. He might never sell it, he might sell it. A lot of times land gets sold when tragedy occurs, and I'm in the medical world, so I see it all the time where cancers and different things happen and there's not money and they have to sell land. And guess what? With the development, there's something that changed. It's not a planned thing. I don't hold anything against it. I just don't think the city should go backwards if it's already established and something that we own, and it's the only gateway to that area.
So the city's gonna start maintaining it, that they haven't done anything with it for the last 31 years that I've been there. And that means they'll have to maintain Hunter Way over to where that stretch Pearl Street is too. I mean, you're talking a lot of expense.
Right now, this
It's not-
section of ground
Yeah.
is. I don't know if they're sagebrush or not, but it sure looks like it on Google Earth. Pretty grassy, and there's no. I mean, I've got it up right here.
On Pearl.
Yeah.
I don't think, what do you mean by maintaining it, mowing it or something?
Well, make a street out of it instead of just
Well,
a
that's no
junkyard.
different than rezoning for residential and ag, and you might not ever put a house on it. We can't force you to put a house on it if it's residential ag. You can't, it's like trying to force the town, am I right? To build a road when just because we own it doesn't mean we have to put a road on it. It is designed as that road, but
If you're saying it's a road, then it should be maintained as a road.
I guess
It's just a vacant piece of property.
I'm just saying it's a piece of property we own.
I mean, we're talking about nuisance things with other people doing their stuff. All it is a fire hazard and a junk pile right now. That people have put their junk on there for. I won't mention any names, but.
Blame that ground, if the town owns it. All it is, it's a width of a street up there, right, with the town,
Straight up here.
which is what, is there, does it go up there 200 feet?
Yeah, this is.
It's about 58 feet from marker to marker on my fence line. And I'm not positive up there on where Hunter Way is. I'm guessing around that 58-foot mark. And about 100 to one, if I remember right, about 110 feet long. What I made really. Just making a slide.
I'll try to get a guesstimate right here. I got it on Google Earth. I think I can get it pretty close.
Let's get right here.
There.
So this is perfect.
Rough estimate, I came up with 4,377 square feet. I mean, it's all pretty. That's right, seeing the dump always, so either one, they can't. So,
Well, this is.
yeah, I'm on that whole thing. Just keep that section. It's a little part of that. That section private, here's that section. This section here, so I got. Because that piece, that's real better. I agree. Kids right there. Yes, you have your files. Oh, it's should be there. That child the way. Never said that's why citizens around the ground side. The remote money's absolutely. So I basically it's just so either way, this you gotta sit there, going on the years, you're not gonna be in this thing, I'm gonna take my back.
8-0. Take a life.
Through if they said it's.
Lane.
It's kind of rough.
It was. Yeah, it's like. She worked with the on this.
Right, that's all we're. You're saying.
I know, it's why I switched, and it was here the whole time. I sat down to tell her something, I was like, why was I over there? Pretty nice. Find this by coming first thing. I'm tired.
Just.
What is she working?
It's their property, right?
That's why.
You're part of the reason why. I could also curious because I don't want to go. Potentially, they could force an issue to where they could bring that right in with and have the hand on both sides they go. That.
Well,
So
and then they're searching all.
it's gonna be all in the here. In theory. If they want, so that's ours, that's that. So that's what I'm gonna say. They would have. So I thought they would have to sell. A lot of messages stuff. Which here,
I don't, I'll see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want to extend it. And he was exactly.
And no person really. See what happens.
But I can pinpoint it to tell you the exact ownership, how much acres.
Good.
But that's what I looking at, if you look at the flow. This is safe, they're septic. Pearl through. Here, you don't need much of what's. By the roadway. Say, really. Very soft. Apparently they're famous now. They left the rest of the season. Here on this. All then you follow this, but you never go around this.
I'm more willing on that. So they think vacating you plan it.
You got on the way, showed.
Keep it there.
Still. So they are interested. See. You're also here, she'll maintain. Well, yeah, it's not. It's your. Hey, the years in terms of. Yeah, you just. On a yearly basis. So this. Whoops. Sorry. Really gonna go fast. You had experience to what's the reason. So this one's vacated. This party. So this is here's the tree.
I get that.
Right now. And this.
There's a party. I did the statute. I know that we have to go on the chart and so on.
I would propose that you becomes some proposals of conditional. Place and then. It's just go. But I want you to just have some fun. Yeah. I think in negotiations. I'm right.
I don't give them shit is. Is nobody's own room behind you or near you? How did they?
Yeah, like it's like we have.
What meeting for you?
They don't have.
Oh, my father.
Access rights. Yeah.
So.
That's all for.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
I think that's agreeable to council. We asked him to come back with the proposal for conditional use of that portion of broken property. We would consider that point. Anything further on your stuff?
Go quickly. There's there are $2,500 to $25,000 grants to communities associated with the kind of centennial celebration, the 250th celebration of the country. And I probably worked with Teresa on this because there's park improvements, kind of different people have done different communities in Wyoming or have done different things to kind of honor their own history. It's a pretty substantial rate. It's worth looking at. Lincoln County has just pretty much supported this. So I sent a copy of that. I think on all the rest of it shows no. Yeah, or determine what that would look like. Just really briefly, we got approved for the Coatesville WI. And so we just need to get that directed to the new website, and I'll let everyone know. So that's live price stuff this week. The Vista concept paper was approved. That's up here. The Vista would be I think they've been part-time individual working with the town on community economic development types of projects. And the next step is the project. If we get approved at this space, next is to submit a project paper in May or June or fall, where we would start selecting some. Just the concept paper was submitted on the deadline. We're making some progress on the master. Probably send out a community assessment as part of this, and start to get some data on a number of things to future the interest, but there's also a pretty heavy housing assessment component that we're designing into this particular assessment. And it's almost ready to go out. Everyone wants to see it first. Happy to send it to you. But by next council, we'll have some information to work with. And the other thing, so you have the master plan. We found out you have land use zoning, things like that, kind of engineering type things, and probably will take a grant to do that component of the master plan. The other things we can build upon, the rec plans we've done, the transportation plans, the economic development plans, those things can be kind of summarized and updated to get through a community process. We'll probably next month be proposing exactly what that would look like. One of the things I wanted to do was just, I put this together based upon our discussions and, getting an idea of what people want to do. It's just a one-page plan. It says Town of Coatesville priority 2025 priorities and draft, which should be emphasized. But I think it's really helping set some goals, even in the short term, while working with long-term plan, developing the long-term plan. And so, the administrative goals like, planning, website, sewer easement, so forth. There's community economic development items based on other assessments been done, land use and housing, public safety, like the public enforcement, some input. Basically, what do you want to see accomplished in the next 9 months? What projects are you working on? Changes would you like to see? would require some changes. You know, usually when you're doing your budgeting, you do your strategy first, then you do your budgeting. Your resources support where you're trying to be as a community, rather than just taking your budget, kind of making small incremental changes. So we wanted to have some just starting point discussion to say, where do you want to go? Because you should be funding your priorities. You should make sure resources are there. Otherwise, you can't accomplish these things if they require resources. So anyway, there, I can make this public. But I'd love the other council members to kind of beat it up, give feedback, you know, add what's not there. This is just really starting point for what we could look at as goals for 2025. I think that's all I had.
Good. Eric, you have anything you need to share, present, yourself over?
I'll be, the only thing I would like to maybe bring up to you guys, this could be part of what he was just mentioning. Our K9 is getting old. It's getting hard for him to get in and out of the truck. I think he's starting to have some other medical concerns. I'm gonna try getting into that probably this month. I plan to still get him certified next month. He's still got some time left in him. But I'd like maybe your guys' permission to start maybe looking potentially replacing. Even if that means we find one and start training him as a puppy. Start training that way. To start potentially replacing. He is a good asset. It's not I hate to let him not come to work with me anymore. When that day comes, it'll be tough for me. Because I've had him for 3 years, all the time. He's big. He is getting to the point where it's hard and harder. Just like us when we get older, we slow down. It's getting slower. So I would like, if you guys are okay, to maybe start looking at avenues of maybe replace them. Way that's cost effective for the town. And one way would cost effective would be finding a good puppy that has the drives that we need and then start training.
What would you rather have?
As far as
A puppy or one that's coming on a little bit?
you know, it's hard for me to say that because that dog's spoiled. He really has. He knows exactly what he's doing. He was trained great. He was the previous chiefs that got him did a great job training him. So it doesn't matter what I get, what we get, it won't be what that dog is for a long time. So county just bought dogs $16,000 piece. And they're pretty green dogs. So I know that's a little bit out there in the budget. Farther down, we can find a puppy. I've trained a puppy from younger, and the one I had, he was pretty good too. So, but it's a puppy, you know, they're still puppies. So even if we got a puppy now, we're probably looking 6 months to 9 months, maybe even a year before we ever be ready to be out on the street. So in the meantime, basically we'd be training 2 dogs because I still have to keep Thomas going until he was ready or until Thomas came in the truck.
Do they learn from the other dogs?
Yes, dogs do learn from. So that would be if we had a puppy.
So it's important to get on this right away.
So yeah, if we had a younger dog and the dog could watch, but that's learned from other dogs. You would learn some of that stuff. So, I mean,
What is Dauntless certified in?
just drugs. So he's certified. He was prior an apprehension dog, and unfortunately, that probably helped some of his issues now. Apprehension on dogs is hard. So I would be looking probably not a Mal, probably like a Lab or a Pointer or something like that. Maybe Thomas is a friendly dog, but he looks mean. He barks at me. He's a pretty much a little lover dog that can fit anybody in here. We can pet him if he's long as you pet him, he's fine, but. So if we had a younger dog, he wouldn't mind from Dauntless. But there again, maybe I'm biased on Dauntless. The next dog could be like.
That car out there would go a long ways into the new dog.
And that may be an option, selling that car. But I've kind of already agreed with Mike and Bentley that we can kind of borrow the city scout guys.
Why didn't he bicycle?
So, but that would be an option we got 15 for that other top
16
something like that. So that would buy a dog that was already had some training.
So how much the puppies are there?
Depends on what kind of.
They're probably 2,000-3,000 anyway, just the
Yeah.
way they are.
Depends on.
When we had Dauntless. Did the town, did you bring the dog?
No.
So did Mark train
Yes.
from the very beginning?
Yes. Well, I think he got him when he was young. I think the town got him when he was about a year and a half-ish old. So I think he had some work before. But most of the work. Yeah, most of the work. Training wise was Mark and Jackie. They're the ones that trained him. He didn't.
If we bought a dog in a similar fashion, would it be around that 4,000 or 5,000?
Not anymore because of everything's more money.
Yeah.
So, but it depends on where you go. I have contacts with people that I could probably get a dog around that price still, maybe. But it would be still a younger dog. Still.
Right.
If they have any kind of training involved in their 16, between 10 and 20,000. So.
In my personal opinion, I'll just put it out there is. I think the handler should have the majority of the say of what dog, the type of dog, the stage of dog. They get.
Well, and like I said, it's been unfortunately a discussion we've been having for my wife for a month because she sees what he's going through and I'm like, no, he's not ready. He's still coming to work with me. So, but I do know what's coming. So,
I would like to just put this out there that Eric does a very, very great job of maintaining his budget, maintaining his police force, maintaining his equipment. Personally, if we gotta find somebody to come up with it, to buy an asset that will work and make our police force what it has been or better than what it is now, I think it's better be invested.
I agree.
I agree as well.
He's your partner.
Just
And if you feel safety with him being with you when you make a stop with someone, that's worth a bunch.
well, he helped us pay us and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's
my opinion that pays for himself in that one step.
Yeah.
And he's done. We've had other stops that he's found stuff on. So he does a good job. To me, it's worth probably having one still up here. Right now, we're the only one in South County that had a dog. The 2 dogs that town dog are up in Africa. And they don't get down here very often. So
Do you get called to do other county work?
I went to the Bard once and sniffed for them. The hardest thing is time wise. If somebody makes a traffic stop, it takes me 45 minutes to get to them. That's too long unless they have other reasons to keep something out. So
There has been occasion in the past where the state trooper has stopped someone on the highway before one of the county officers have stopped someone close by. I mean,
they have called the stop, so we can be used for other places. It's just
So if we were to get a puppy right away, this is a question for you. If we were to get a puppy right away, I'm more concerned on making sure we have working dogs. So
So
I don't know if I wanna go, my thoughts are, I wouldn't wanna go with a puppy. If Dauntless is going to be basically done sooner than we need, because we need to have that dog for what its purpose for.
Yeah.
And so. I'm agreeing with, like Wayne said, we've got a vehicle, we might have, that might be the best option, or something that we need to do, but.
and it's hard for me to say, right? It's hard for me to say. That Dauntless is gonna be 6 more months, a year. I was hoping 2 years, but with some of the stuff, I think he gets that long.
Do you think a puppy would take a, you would have you basically have to have a gap?
There potentially could be a gap. There potentially could be.
But you know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Better than we do.
So we're gonna lean to you.
And that's the hard thing, right? If I go get a puppy and Dauntless is done in 2 months, that dog is gonna be ready to act.
Yeah,
It's just not. So it's hard for me to say, well, if we get a puppy, I'm gonna have him done before Dauntless is done. It just. If we got one that's already got some training, it would be easy. We could replace Dauntless with a new one that's already got training and it would be quick. And then we could transition Dauntless out in 2 months. Cause it may take that long to get it up. You know, does that make sense? So.
I see with whether make his own decision on that.
I'm of the opinion that
Whatever you do, we'll back you.
And that's really why I'm bringing it up, is to get your guys' kind of approval to maybe start going that way, unfortunately. Instead of that.
I think we can do that.
do we have a motion to approve Eric searching for a dog?
I'll make a motion for Eric to search for a new replacement.
I second it.
Any further discussion? Any restrictions we want to put on that?
It's just research.
Yeah, just, he's good. Once he finds it, then I do think there should be a discussion about it.
And
But he should have the permission to go and do all he needs to get that, for that level.
And I have put proposals before together for canines in my other agency, so I know how to kind of do that. I'm okay doing that, so we can see what things we looking at.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Things like
Was there
that.
a second?
Yes, it was. It's just seconded it.
That's all I have tonight, so I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
I don't know why I'm so emotional, but
Thanks, Dawson.
thanks,
Thanks,
Tom.
Dawson. Honestly,
I can tell you, Dave, he doesn't work. We have hard days, so.
a lot of people who've never been in the industry
What
won't
I-
understand really what they can do.
Session will be done on the night when we have more fun.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Just so you guys are aware, just think about it. Do thoughts when we do retire him. And where he's gonna go. Just keep that in mind, yeah.
I personally would like to leave that decision up to the chief.
Exactly.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think it's our place to say.
Well, he is considered property, so it is your guys' say. So just
Let's put
keep
it
that
that
in
way.
mind.
It'll be a very easy decision.
It's Eric's partner, so.
Oh, we let me go ahead and do it and then we'll be done.
We have public works stuff.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have anything for public works?
No, everything went well with the well house today, so
Yay.
basically waiting on get some bids on SCADA. Got to talk with another guy this afternoon. We're still waiting on a few others as we're in the budget process. Hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we can make a decision or whatever of who we want to go with. Gonna wait until, because I know we're gonna have some meetings or whatever.
Yeah, I think as soon as we get all those bids around the SCADA system, if you'll share those with me, I can bring them to the council so we can review them. We can navigate through where our monies are gonna come from for that, make sure we have enough to cover them. And then also the bid for the sleeve, if you'll share that with me as well. Bid for the
Yeah.
sewer sleeve.
Yep.
We can see if we can make all that stuff happen. I don't know if it's gonna be possible, all of it or part of it or what we can do, but
Well, from one of the bids I got today, and then talking to the one this afternoon, they're not terrible. So they're more in our budget. The door set was, put it that way.
there's more and
No, they're less,
oh,
100,000 less,
that's kind of what I figured they should be, but
you know, so.
we've had this discussion already. In my personal opinion, there's some things you get what you pay for in those
Right.
situations.
And that's what I told the same guy when we was talking to him on, or, you know, on the computer, you know. Not the lowest bid is always the best way to go.
Correct.
But like I say, you can look over and you understand it, you know, so you can look over it, but what's the best deal?
Yeah, if you'll share those with me when you get them all compiled, we'll go over them. I'll share them with the council. We've got to make sure we have some budget monies and things like that to cover. And I think we're covered. Even at right now, with whatever basic number estimates at, I think we'd be covered. But it's just a matter of really getting out that code, making sure it's all covered. Anything else?
That's all I got.
One other thing I got, like, talked with Todd, Mike and I did on that heater system we've got in the shed down there. It's brand new, never been used. He's looking at some of his HVAC people and see if they're interested in it, but he seems to think that thing ought to bring $5,000-6,000.
Yeah, I think it would bring some money. I think he was gonna check, I think talk about checking your fee, I had some estimates on.
Yeah, so said work, wherever, however you wanted to do it, but and he says you might, if he doesn't get any response from some of those HVAC people through his contacts, he says you put that out online, and like there's more people out there online than he knows of. So
Yeah, so part of the caveat is there, if we're gonna sell it, it's gonna be over $500. It has to go to auction.
Right.
Whether or not. It is what it is. But that being said, if we have some input on what it is, we can.
well, he was
Possibly
mainly
some
just the price. See what
It's a set reserve. It's a brand new heater. We don't want to just let it go to waste. It doesn't fit the old cab, so.
Mayor,
Yes,
I had one other thing, just to stuff to know, we'll be going next week. Conference.
yeah, it's not the Mormon conference either.
That was last weekend.
And I wanted to go, but I have to go to Louisiana next week, so. Is that all you have?
That's it.
We have on the agenda an executive session. I'm not sure what it's for, and we can't go into it without knowing what it's for.
I move the motion, we go to executive session.
For,
For,
it has to fall within a certain parameter during the executive session.
okay,
So it has to be made public of what that parameter is.
You, in your motion, you have to include that.
oh, well, let her make.
It has to, correct me if I'm wrong, John, it has to be either legal issues, personnel, or
Potential property
Property.
purchases or sale.
Or potential legal issues.
yes.
Potential legal issues.
Litigation.
Okay. So, it will be for potential legal issues.
Do we need more detail than that, or
Okay with that.
just? We have a motion?
I say.
All in favor?
Aye.
John, would you please. Watch the dripping hazard here, I got it for.
We go around. Maybe some of that. Freaking. Yeah. I think the chairs are losing a button.
That's.
Nope, you're locked out. I'm not though.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there goes.
It was playing. I don't remember.
That's what I
thought.
How much? 16. 16.
System, the brains of those command.
And train.
She take them all.
Content. Yeah, I just.
That's not.
Yes.
So.
You
know, I looked, it's like, oh, I'll be out of town, I guess that's famous.
That's just confident.
Come in that early. It's usually gonna be on the 6th or 8th, she's gonna be
Chief.
The bottle rolls underneath my seat.
I can take it home. Perfect.
I get your thing.
You're at basketball practice. And I'm at a practice.
No, moving, not so you said. Oh, no, it's not better for you know what's going on. First of all, I gotta know what's going on. Speak for themselves.
So she's a jumped. I'm sorry. She's more than I got there. Same.
Maybe give me like 2 days.
I mean, Brad.
It does have a
I know. I know.
It's coming next April. You tell me, you got any buildings of business? Not a shit in one. Eric, what do you know?
Not much.
How much do you think that cost you?
Cost me.
How much will the dog cost?
So the county's paid 16,000 for theirs for a piece. And they were about a year old.
Man,
They had some training.
pretty well trained, so.
They came from. They came from a kennel that gets them something like.
Different one to train, yeah.
So now with the tariffs, they made.
Probably be double.
So they snuck in the office, the one.
Double.
But yeah,
But I was scared.
they ran the G10.
So that is better than you, because I usually knock on the door because I'm scared to come in. And I hate one of the door.
And one that ain't trained in that still runs you a pretty good penny.
Oh, I can imagine.
Front of him, he's heel black.
So
And it's scary.
I can.
It was the first time I was ever scared.
he's getting older. Unfortunately.
What?
German sheep.
So he makes me these.
That's, no.
So you can make him.
Oh, I died too.
But that's, I just say don't like him.
And his dad said, okay, you don't knock that off, you're gonna get hit.
Yeah.
It's
One day,
wasn't.
family came in his office. But I'm sitting at my desk typing and it was on the floor. In between the door, stuck his head in and said something and that. I thought I did kind of scared about because, but that's all that his head just popped in. He didn't like that. It's like, you can't be doing that. And
Not before you.
Shepherds.
I usually.
Quite a few
I
years
feel
ago.
comfortable. Yeah, it's also the door for him.
Yeah.
I always sit at the door not. Even though I have.
One I had
Get
to
in, I'm like, no,
keep
then that one time, I'm like, all right, I'm
poor
I'm
old cow.
comfortable now.
The other one was just a good
He didn't like that.
dog, and I take my daughter, she was only 9 months old, and I set her out there on the lawn. The shepherd is laid right next to her, and she could play with him laying in there, but if somebody pulled in the yard, ask Wayne about it.
He come into the yard, someone's scooter there, he jumped up and put paws on him and did start growling at him, and we said, get this.
We have a shepherd. Kids. We were camping, kids started to report the fire and the dog got hurt.
They're really protecting him, for the kids.
And it was a good dog.
Mine used to get loose in town here after called me because he didn't want to catch him. I defended that dog for years and that. He'd get loose one time where Pete Peterson out there everywhere, a bunch of chickens. And he says, there's been a bunch of us. I think. Been up there and got after my chickens. Pete, my dog. Chicken or Indiana. But when they, when last away, I decided to sell the big dog houses that I had done. Moving the dog house, and they dug underneath. Found 3 chickens buried under the good bed. Boy, I had to eat words in.
They're fine.
Now they're told I had to. When I had that garden, it's just like he must. She probably having help. I had a whole garden, strong spot like that. But I never covered her that. I got interesting stuff. I'm gonna. It's not like the one I had 15 years, the other one 15. The ones they went started going down, I went down. We'll get to see the goal first.
That was basketball. That was sawwheel. That was.
Right.
So that's.
Yeah.
Does it even move?
It'll be hard.
Even now it looks.
A couple days. Yeah, this is.
We want to see. She could have said, and got to stay, she started to start and then sitting inside and then wouldn't eat right in the cage. He just.
That's you just take on your own.
Finally, just to put him down. I felt like we had to have a burial when they said, it was tough on him.
So I didn't grow up with dogs.
By boxer.
I've probably had 40 since. Some of them have been quick and some of them.
No.
So hard.
Still keep it out.
You know how sad it is.
We grew up in Dane County, big terror shop.
Oh, so good.
There's so many genetics.
Calvin.
It's
so fun. I really.
yeah.
Was right back, but then let it in front.
Because they. Reading their little noise and they.
Cars without it down.
Really?
Yeah.
Since they can't breathe, they also can't give birth on their own half the time.
It's just, he's a good, he's been, like I said, he was well trained.
First off, we can't bring.
On his work trained anymore, any contract.
I'm
all sure.
He does some, trains them for personal protection stuff, and I think.
Okay.
It's hard because having that dogs can be useful for the business. But what we you name them is the dog for is so it looks mean and so we gotta get
Did you train Davis for that sniffing out the drugs and that? He done a pretty good job.
He did pretty good. Pretty good.
I would give him some stuff about it, some grade maybe and all of that.
That was good. I mean, that was amazing. It's gonna be hard. It'll be hard.
So. And this.
What's scary is how much you know, people don't understand that there's a lot of
There is, and it's that would just like don't. So that's me.
There he goes.
Would be no use to facts, man, we stuff. Fucking I was told. I got followed in here, told the other guy, I said, well, maybe Davis or Eric should out on the board. I said, I think that's an accurate sentence.
It's just crazy. I mean, there is, I'm sure, tons that goes through here. It's hard.
Or, yeah, when they do it.
Yeah. Stop.
Exactly.
It's fine. It was, I think he was shocked when he found it. It's like, holy smokes.
It's crazy.
But I said, oh, I think it's like 30 pounds. I was a little off. That's a long way. I saw it. It was 8 backs, 6 guard backs.
Yeah, just. Really?
I never seen anything. One talked about it on phone. It wasn't good, wasn't nothing. No. And even after the dog did, it's like, it's okay if I go look in your cab.
And then I leave trying to picture it, I'm like, can we actually have our own carrier?
But he didn't. But yeah, the guy said, oh. It's like, you're okay with it? And know what's in there. You know what's in there.
He knew he was caught, so.
And then,
Where'd they come up?
I don't know. I think they came from Washington. They said that you were running almost. That's where the was from. They were going forward.
And see,
That's where that stuff was headed.
Be the worth of that much.
They probably spent on over 100,000.
They did that in the street battle, so they doubled.
Well, that stuff, there was some of it, so it wasn't just, there was some wax, and that stuff stunk, but that was like pure THC stuff, and that's more.
that was components.
But it was all labeled in different flavors.
Really?
It's, I mean, I'm saying 100,000, that was on based on the lowest.
Yeah, Bentley's working it acted up battery. You know, even say a medium grade, but $600,000 worth, just a medium grade.
Yeah.
If it's out high quality, you know.
Yeah, and depending on what quality is and all that stuff, it's a lot of money. And there's stuff we probably should have done a little different, but. The main thing is we got it. Yeah, them guys are. Just off the street. They just now go learn what court is like. But more than our municipal court where this is pretty laid back. Now he's gotta go.
That one of them big dirty running over the coals.
Yeah, now he actually has to go to court. This I don't count as court. Judge Johnson and we just go up there and say, yeah. It's pretty, you know, it's going through. So he has court.
So those the counties with old. Big judge.
Yeah, so Thursday's the first one, and then once they go on to the next portion. All day this. We can say you got that Peter, you got
Bentley, you're supposed to leave that in
Counties.
retired.
For jury duty too.
I need to go check. I don't want to. But I think it'd be fun if he's all the dirt dude for the place that he's on.
Yeah, what you yell at my job.
No, that's not a lot. I'd still say. Us. The lesson was still. I think the term should have outside out.
Yeah.
He's.
Something sold twice. The one they had him on Steve Vine. Called me up there and first question I was on, do you know this guy? I says, yeah. How do you know him? I says, well, I work out the mines with him. You're gone.
Well, I'd like to just say, thanks for driving down here.
Yeah.
Thanks for being asked questions.
Fill out the papers, you leave.
It's,
Nothing against.
Another time when I stayed on for a long time, but never did get solved.
Exactly.
And that's why we do.
And I just didn't want a puppy that I had to train.
so it's, I mean, it's,
Yeah, Joseph come today there asked me, do you
After 10.
read the mail? Did you get called for jury duty? I says, no. Well, I did.
that's what Davis apparently did. I didn't check the mail today. I didn't check the mail, maybe I did.
She picks up the mail and she tells me the shotgun's for me. I don't look at it.
I don't think, honestly, I don't think I've ever been called for jury.
And they connected really well.
Of all the years, I don't think I've ever had them.
She went,
Mm.
got.
Like I said, I called a couple of times, but
If not, if I do, it'll be like, oh, thanks for them. I'm pretty confident that they won't have me on the jury.
Jimmy Thunder, mine was working.
I still haven't.
That was not the wine and machine cops come. Being able to again. Here they come, these cops in.
So her blanket.
Runs during the day, early
My
morning,
mom bought them.
come in, and
For her.
get on the phone and so this.
Our plane
Over, Jimmy with you, yeah,
They.
come up to mine office. That's all my office. He walked me, so he's like, when Jimmy was with me. So as he got out of there, they went over there and they handcuffed him. Why you handcuffed? I mean, just because you're supposed to. Sure, used to didn't show up. Now you wouldn't show up. They hauled his bug off.
No, more seriously.
Oh, yeah. The accountant's coming up, naughty.
Yeah.
And he goes. You would remember.
Missing, don't ask questions. Over Davis. If he goes missing, don't ask questions, like
Who?
Davis.
Did Davis go missing?
Yeah, he's doing things he shouldn't be doing. It's definitely not for the life insurance, I just can't put up with anyone.
Does he have life insurance? Cause that sometimes.
I think so.
That's why I've never bought life, that's why I've never bought life insurance. That makes it so that I'm worth more alive than dead.
It's not really true.
Oh. Well, yeah, in my idea, that's what it was.
Even if I don't have life insurance, I'm still worth more dead than alive. Hold on.
You're my drop.
You're worth a little bit. If you died. It says, yeah, but I'm worth a lot more if I stay alive.
So Joe find out, didn't you?
Hmm?
Joe.
By the end of the week, I guess he's supposed to come.
By the end of this week or next week.
Yeah.
Yep, she knows. Okay. Did they say what they were talking about in there, and then they just go into executive session?
They said something.
Some legal deals you wanted to talk about.
Steve gets the lock, but you're next to the
You
door.
probably got a bone to pick with one of them.
I recommend not doing that with.
You could just get up there and then open the door, smack, with my leg.
Who's in there? Just sit out here. And just,
Somebody is just staring at the slot.
Somebody doesn't own something. Way more set. Sure.
No.
Just go out there and fix Charles's chair for me.
Is it Charles?
There's a loose screw I need you to find.
The chairs?
That was in the chair.
Chairman, so
Look at you.
look at all that popcorn over there.
Yeah, I struggle.
You can.
It's not breakfast with that kid.
What kid?
It's hard to have breakfast.
Oh, I know what you're talking.
Jeez.
Did we lock the door? No. She doesn't get up and have breakfast with me.
No.
Morning person.
Matter of fact, I need to ask Brad to stop texting me. Tell that.
Oh my gosh,
So
so she just get a dump.
At least I didn't text you at 5 o'clock.
In the morning?
Yeah. So when we're in a trip,
Oh, I can't give you the, oh, you're asking.
when we're in a wreck, and we're all scared to call you, it's because we'll wake her up. That would be in trouble. Hopefully it's scared me.
See what's worse. That's a little different than texting somebody to ask them a question. That can be asking 4 hours. It sounds like
That was interesting because it's used as something.
bouldering and that doesn't help. If they're all freezing in the house. This is very sucks.
Yeah, me too.
I called Davis, Eric's on call. Things up.
We're such over for a year. Like he's closer to 7, like you're good, he's coming out soon. Like he's told me that it was closer to 7.
It's like, I was about to call it, like, not me guys, someone else. The funny thing is, that call that went out,
Actually,
they actually called him.
No, they didn't call.
They didn't call me.
and that's my big thing.
No, the question, no, I just called dispatch and asked for an officer to go out.
Joe was on the announced. They didn't
No, when they just.
They called you guys.
So we waited for an hour.
Like it's out of your jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say.
So county, county guy wasn't on.
Go to with that's. But since we've been running, we've had either 3 or 4.
So we were gonna go home, then we got him.
Yeah.
Just random guy. He was fine.
I just struggle with. First we had.
All right, I should have gone home. Sorry.
Like he was. Sleeping in the marshmallow. And we got to feed him. I don't, now we got, she said I say the brick,
Nice.
but I can't sleep on that son of neither. And pillows.
So the training's pretty boring.
I can't.
I fell asleep sometimes today.
Yeah.
Yes, except for today's. So when was next year?
Pass the test.
Tests.
Written tests.
This is the seat out.
Yeah.
So the point that we're going to the team.
Car seat.
No, it's just the car seat.
They saw us 400 pages. Beautiful. Nice.
Something once.
Fancy things. Down.
They fell.
So they have
Couple hard.
30
Cars, 2 of
for us to train on.
one of them's plugged.
One of these does swivel, like, or that's all they, let's say it's off the ground, slide it out, last spin.
You're hard. Okay.
It's so expensive.
Couldn't match.
Yeah, but he says you either got a pinch.
My grandson, one, yeah. It's a.
Oh, so there's one, so we, so today there's the purpose of today, okay, like first, or push to the web bag, go to a car and then just put it there.
But this guy.
You know, make a recording of it. That's outside Friday, you know, final. And then I go prepare the equals.
Yeah.
Go, when I'm taking all that
Sometimes
Friday, it could be.
like that.
You have a like,
In my chair.
take the seat out, the first seat out, because it has seats, right?
We could go down.
And where you put the seat.
That's why I
up,
drink
like
little, you know, add it all over.
pull it up. Feed it through all like the whole entire
Of
thing.
course, our winter game,
Back in.
animals feed. Got fat.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on Friday, especially, so they also said,
We're brother.
I either coming in early. Or staying late one day. I have to have the whole thing, or whole curriculum, I don't know.
Car seat.
The whole thing, oh.
Yeah, you like it for less.
Not
It's just
car seat.
go.
We are now able to get.
You're 70 go down here.
So, there are different kinds of locks for the seatbelt. Do you know how you can pull the seatbelt off? So the-
Was it different?
That's
That's.
Yeah. So the whole thing, all the way out.
But
Right.
negotiate that.
What is that?
Davis, I'm sorry that I say.
They're all great.
Is this the one?
You get. This and put it in.
He's gonna be in charge.
That's why, that's what it's just, it's in fact, that's one thing.
Actually, one of
Like, so, he was talking on.
I feel like you always. You sat through the.
That's funny.
No, but you sat through board.
And the whole farm, that next week, they did research this whole thing.
yesterday. That's what I came home to.
Then I
Nice.
comfort your son.
Hey,
What? In 6 months, you're on the street.
That role.
but I just called for my own.
Yes, yes, you did.
I was like, oh, I was like, no, I was like, this guy in the camera, just tell him, tell the officer, all right, you can go home.
Yeah.
Out.
So I was kind of, Carl,
They kicked his sister out.
you know, I just. A week. We deal with it. You can't.
This is the second time.
Sorry, you said it.
I've seen. And
Oh,
she has a snow blower.
Then you die in
Well, go to jail.
But that's all, that's. Durable, as far as durable, no.
Yeah.
so you can look at all that.
Just don't try to. Or I turn them.
Most of
I
the
had
matches
a
I
big
have.
number on it, just rolled them, shut, slide up, it was a hot day.
He's a white.
Just filled it up like, you
It is there.
know, an old.
If you get.
Added it back down. Let's say. It's spring.
No, the state just drop the white and name
Then weeks to one time, should be.
Fire chief?
Grass.
He's not a fire chief. No, he's not. He's not.
You don't drive on it.
He's a.
Yes. That's just, you know, just the one path into what you guys got.
Yeah.
And I think that stuff.
He was just got direct
Oh,
public. That's where they're all.
Yeah, yeah, so, you know, like I say, if he did what he did and then put oil over the top, but still spray.
Oh, you
So.
know, you would have to say, ice.
Hell.
Instead of Murdoch, you know, especially now after you got this stock. You didn't send stock in your driver's license. Anybody that's threatened.
You didn't take this last night? I haven't.
Well, they know who the car's not.
Why?
Yeah, went by.
No,
Just-
I'm curious, why?
Just in case, you know, just already there for.
Oh, so it's racing.
What's the reason?
Okay, that I understand. I thought maybe you were hurt by that.
Change it.
Well,
You didn't know. You had one thing. You're better on. You got some of the last names.
I got her.
Yeah, her license was fine, so she didn't change her license when she got married.
One thing about it, plus. Back, you found out where I live.
What?
New license, switch from this away to this away
It still says Murdoch.
before we got married, okay? I still have a couple years before I had to change it again.
I have to wait so I can buy more guns, cause I didn't put my address on. PO box, they don't sell guns.
Last year, say that first year I've ever.
But that means if we have to overcome.
It's in her name, it's.
It's all Tracy, so Eric doesn't have any guns.
Yeah.
Well,
She knows I had it. too, just for anything else.
I just say, well, here's your dad, here's your. It's doing now.
Well, I have 10, 11, but national holiday. And then I,
Old as he Davis.
I think that's what it's played.
All the kids.
back with me.
You need a
We
gun.
used to get.
The problem is when you're looking at,
What do you think?
you're looking at the staccato CS, that's what.
We buy those?
That's the problem.
See, I see a lot of, just like, can you imagine pulling that at your first, you're like, doo
It used to be.
That's true.
Well, I used to say that for me, so I thought, yeah, she better. Well, I had a question. But yeah.
Okay.
But we already say.
She says she's about to throw them out.
Okay, let's have them.
It's what.
We'll go up there.
Usually that's-
Sounds good. Oh, that's me.
And I was sure. So much started doing.
Yeah, don't you have training already?
Yeah, but it's back to 12. Unless he has to stay late on.
I will tell you this right now. So Thursday, we're one of them super training. Lunch, I'm dipping out of there to go to Kent, wait for the court.
Already more.
Then I'm gonna put you back to Evanston and make it back to
No.
the last part of the training.
So then they should stay.
So I have to stay there. And then come back here because I'll be done. But there is probably when we stay later to make up whatever I missed.
Right.
back here.
As long as you're back before
And then,
7, so we can pick them up.
that's what I'm saying, I have to be back here for football. And then Friday, then Friday,
Don't drink drugs on Thursday.
then Friday, yeah, then
That's no good.
Friday, we haven't played in so many weeks. I had to play. So then I wake up Friday, I'll be down there at like 6. I was leave here at 6:30. And then I turn around right when the training is done.
He's got a hard life having to sleep at night and get up in the morning, huh?
I hate it.
He's got a hard life.
Wake up
Well,
at 5 up so early in the morning, I'm not used to it.
Go to bed at night.
What do you think I'm working to? Like, not a morning person. Large part of the whole St. George trip is breakfast. 6:30 a.m. We're on vacation.
5 o'clock, we're up and going.
Like, come
But
on.
doesn't get us until 11.
I'm like 10. I can't.
I'm not a morning person at all. I'd rather sleep in.
If I could convince the school to start late, I'll sleep.
All I know is council gave me permission to get it done. Council gave me permission to get it done. That's what I heard.
That's what you said.
No.
Yes, they did. Shut your mouth. Push your mouth.
Teresa didn't say anything.
So wait,
She is. Thomas is her dog if I'm not that.
You got it.
And you know. It'll be easy.
I'm gonna charge her.
He's coming up.
you already want.
Well,
So where you're.
It's like a white come back.
Yes.
That's not again. We got going on.
I had to drag me around town.
See how nicely that opens up? It's like.
It is. Joe, well. People's time, people say it's warmed up. This is you. But people feel like they.
Yeah.
No, I.
Tell
So, so you know,
Yeah.
what dog was the kids pass? Actually, or probably
Oh, yeah.
here, so about a week.
I like the potholes and setting and setting. Go out there and look at this.
Oh, it's crazy.
Well, that's like the. State fence.
It's hard.
Asphalt. At the side of the road.
It's tough.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a long.
I thought almost couldn't get a wheel, but places in my yard. From my
Yeah, we.
doorway, going in his shed,
The David's. Function.
but there's a
Place.
every bit of the.
Well, I had to wait to where.
That's what they just. Yes, he just took the load and backed it and then back, and I go, he took top of it. All her day.
She serviced our trainer. And it was hard. She was like, what the heck?
Let's come out.
This was the. He should make some. Track.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Like Tony says, you think was.
I want to touch your state, got the race though. Maybe.
Yeah, but that's. This was a league block there, so.
Oh.
Branded. Hey, let's do the same. Then for me. That's where I kind of stopped. That's where we begin.
Buildings I could do with that.
I said, 50 feet off the center line of that road, it's access road. So they have that one short.
You're talking about stuff.
Say that. They just
That
couldn't
is-
quite figure out. No. Then it could be, and it says, well, that's that, or no, but just fix our piece.
The boarded windows.
It's like.
It's in Brussels.
Let's tell you the solution. So then.
So the stress of the thing that I don't realize.
Like, they're just like, half of what kind of look, we just.
If there's no
building.
That's not. But it's more about progress. We don't know what to fix it. People can go.
The plastic kitchen.
So I said,
Unless
she was there.
You
The
can't.
feds have just his arguments is at the end of that.
Have to see people.
You know,
He says, just because the sign is up there doesn't mean that's where we go. I says, then you better move your damn sign.
They have no trespassing signs and Lester's put no trespassing
So I
signs.
said, well, we better get a survey and see where the end of the job is.
Trespassing.
Spend it right in the place.
That's what we're trespassing signs.
Yeah, you did.
Like,
Came up.
they kept breaking.
But anyway, I don't wait till there's.
Which reminds me, somebody broke into Cause that door's closed now.
He's on shore.
Well, there were people now for a while. There was a couple workers there. A couple weeks ago.
Don't mix it up, because.
Actually, shouldn't use.
The green building.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the worst end of that. Start with that sign, yeah. He's come back, squeeze about a few feet. Oh, yes, and it's, I think that out all the way. Seen it. All the way to the tracks, and then you. Yeah. Thanks for the go forward up closer south. It's not solid. When they're all places, they have to fix the road and then fix the road. Hey, shop.
Cause I watched them how they turned around.
A while back.
I just checked.
I think it's one of them.
Is it?
Honestly, so.
Okay, sounds good.
Did you think, Lynn?
Yeah.
We don't need a swing here.
Yeah.
Cause I don't make enough money.
What are you gonna say?
It would all go to swings.
How do you feel about
She would find the business.
business? That's where everybody goes to. That goes.
Everybody knows we can't have a map here.
No.
I'm surprised we have a monster tonight. I thought about it. I really thought it on the way
No
to.
swing, no Taco Bell.
Yeah, I'd be screwed over with that.
I'm looking up today, was like that pizza. I wouldn't eat Taco Bell.
Everybody likes that pizza.
Quesadillas.
That's a shitty pizza.
They ruined my, I like enough pizza. It's having chili with nothing. It's so okay. You know, gosh, it's the best.
Why in the hell did
I was about to actually have like the $1 and $2 menus.
Yeah. That
you
was.
tried to?
Oh, sorry.
That's when I was in high school.
Good pizza.
So that's why I was.
Well, yeah, that's all we got. The days, I'll tell you that.
I do like.
I like pizza, but there can't be the one star about everything. Pizza and everything, and they keep that one again, close.
Then I shall find.
And I like pizza sometimes.
No,
No,
no. We have an agreement with the family that he's gonna sell us eggs.
Yeah.
He hasn't got any, so she said.
See, Wednesday, I'll make you a deal.
How can you eat that?
You have
Six
extra
rolls,
meat.
it's a whole- it's a- it's a lie. But it's good pizza. Yeah.
Cakes, like, that's fine. Try to go to the store and you don't have any.
And I thought they would be.
I saw the business.
Any place you go there. No. For as big as that town is, it's like shit to place to eat. I stopped at one time, it's called Burger King for the something. I mean, regular hamburger.
What's there?
One thing they do, but it's just like.
I don't know.
Oh,
I know.
I made me throwing it, maybe it was this six. Like I didn't have time.
Big board.
It's not how that last night. Until 9 o'clock.
They give me.
It's crazy last year.
Days when they make them.
And now that it's.
But still,
It's like,
this year,
And they. Not free for that.
we can
The
see
product
this.
factor's like-
yeah, that's what I was saying. They find out from last
They usually.
Freshman didn't take it, so we still.
Give me something.
So,
That's too
year.
sorry, actually.
much. Okay,
That's it.
that's not something.
What if it's the wrong person too?
You know, and it's, hey, we thought, you know, that kid came to the house and said, Kristen didn't take it, so we want to, but that's something wrong.
It was such a.
He was six. Yeah. And then the girls like, where's just. You know, they got one that they down in town. And you know, that's the. Breakfast there.
It's not using certain amount of use mine.
Yeah.
I know, but that lady was desperate.
Like the wall.
Was buying a different house here in Bellevue. I don't know what her house,
What do you think a large pizza like?
but her house set, her house.
And it was like pepperonis on.
So she needed a place to live.
They told me the price you sell. I looked at this.
For enough money, yeah.
That's low. That's a much better.
Wait, so What did you just say? What do you say? After I start like
Was 25 bucks.
It's just a schmuck.
The price is like 40 bucks.
Is that what you call?
What's it called? This is gonna should have.
Uh,
Which more have space.
But I do like. Language trends are.
I do like that. I don't care.
I haven't got on that.
Well, they have this. They make some things.
I honestly, what I would.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 3 stories.
Usually the legal that. It's gonna have stuff. We start
So,
out.
I was talking to
You would be edges of sister called now. One that turns into the hospital like that. Yeah, we're not some river. Is it? I like this.
Yeah.
Since I didn't want it, I know. That's a good move there.
Is
it? Salt river.
Yeah. But look, this is my ideal house.
Yeah, so you already got her knees. Just there. That's what we have 3 sales.
Maybe the chicken might stop, you get more sweets, so anybody has
Eat breakfast.
When we put the kids, grandkids to sleep, and we have big green forest.
Yeah, like I say, since they remodeled it, I never, I can't say I really ever had.
It's bigger than it's new.
So
It will be.
it needs to be. You'll spend more time out there.
And if we have a barndominium, we can't.
But you're right, y'all even more bigger soldiers, because they shit.
They leak, and so it has to
You
be
don't say
seven.
that.
Yeah.
That's different.
Or.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to. Oh, I do.
No.
But she has sweet.
No. That's not where I was going. Way better than that.
What's
Hey.
pork dog good?
Can sell feet pigs for over like 6 figures.
Listen, you haven't seen my feet.
It doesn't matter. People have their fetishes, okay?
You have listened.
Some sort of flats in the dark with $50.
There you go.
They're still putting the bits out.
Like, you'll be fine. Someone will find you some practice.
I'm okay with that. Tell me how to do it.
Okay. So there's this app they have to do.
So I just put that.
You won't let.
But you.
It's like, okay, first of all,
Why? You
no, you don't.
Just because you don't, just because you don't think about everything, but you're not put like this, no.
They put it right up in front. They want it.
I'm.
That's what they do. In my mind, that's what they do.
That's how you want her. Like,
You go underneath noviceness. Okay, you have a safe profile, you're fine.
I know though, that lady just got killed. Oh, like guy was a fan, somewhere like that.
That's okay.
Thank you, sir.
Anyways,
That's true.
you have a conversation, so you're not.
So you wish you could have time, because you'll be up.
Are we taking that? Like we.
and if he lives by the age of 17, we don't care.
I think.
Anyways, so
Well.
it's in the contract.
So let's say she dies in like 10, 15 years, heaven forbid, right? I get remarried at 70. That's it. I have to.
I don't care if it's all lives.
I have to.
Everybody have this down.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, he got he's just a girlfriend towards the end.
I told him, no,
Not cool.
I told him I did.
Have you heard about my deal? He's allowed to get married.
Remarried.
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 So first it was like, he was allowed to get remarried, but he couldn't have sex. And he's like, well, that's not gonna work. And I said, fine, well, then you have to say, then you have to say my name. So that's the deal.
So this loophole I should say another lady. Going
So
first,
now I'm getting on.
Yeah.
going on the first date. What's your name? Oh no, that's
Tracy, it's gonna work out.
it's good. It's good.
I think they went out the other door, no?
They just, keep during the meeting for Karen.
They're like, there's no way anybody's waiting this long.
I know.
Like, you went to build that home, like 40 years ago. I gotta go to bed, you don't have to get up at 16. This point, what's the? You got this. I should then go to the bar. So you know.
Yes, I have to turn off the TV. Like jump over his account.
Your granddad.
Your parents guy, you know, coming up at the same time.
And so the problem is, it's because then it's like, so you're up into. They said this. The last, the last couple of nights, I've got the TV going. And it's not just really good because. After you have the TV going. I just feel like reaching around, like turning it off and like, the heck? You're like, I'm watching now.
I work on this. Yeah.
Before.
I do that. So we'll say, St. George, when you turn the TV off, I was asleep, I was actually fully awake,
Oh, you weren't.
100%. When I saw you, cleaned over, you know, and that's what I'm talking.
So you slap me for no reason.
I was asleep. I didn't show myself. It just said you were. He's just talking about my stomach. Just certain times we get some. Yeah. I was waiting for that. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not gonna get away. I guarantee you.
It's not like all this.
Yeah, but nobody's.
So
good.
I'm still tentative. There's nobody still watching the Zoom right now.
So what do you
I wouldn't be willing to bet.
I bought a 4-wheeler.
There's one participant, but I think it's his iPad.
Broke down.
One I checked.
4-wheeler.
And that's it.
Yeah, plows.
Was it not just when we school?
It's got new plow on it where it's mounted up in for. Only thing they put shear pins on it now, so if you hit a small groove too hard, here's the pin.
If you can
Well, I fixed that, that was bad. It's shear.
Yeah. So seriously, being a contract.
But they're tight.
No.
Shear.
So we don't forget. So we had our
Bends up that bend of the shear the pin.
our first year married.
I'm married. Marriage.
And then
Same.
I had it off the chief.
I know what we say. We took it out of the frame, we used the frame for the head.
The second one.
And that has all. I think ours is the same.
With that. Hydraulic, like Scott's and everything, it's still working. But my, they did build the ballers.
No.
I took it out. Just when it gets soft over there. Or the plow, the driveway is paved for what?
Is that what's?
And it's packed, but it's all Indiana. So you gotta be careful, but some of the drills, they push the snow up, they were plus in the pictures.
Probably like 10.
Hell, the one time you walk, we don't stop.
If it's not that I'm 20. My teacher.
So I thought,
Was trained.
could get the straight now.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it.
I ain't got to straight anymore. I said, I got to get like.
They do have a way.
Wherever.
That's pretty good. They also have
You could winter was coming on.
that's like.
We're good. As long as I get a car this out. Of course, Dave's
Information on there,
live the next.
and it can tell you-
Next to it, so he's had his tractor there.
Each car.
You know, what, puts the snow back.
If it has, anchor hubs for.
Was you don't have to have. Right.
Some store, right? And if you can.
This would get.
Borrow hubs. Yeah.
Like that.
Tell them.
Other
There's kids have booster seats.
And I got my old one was.
Make that seat.
Was there, like, I couldn't believe I was able to see it.
Oh, I actually did see that on Facebook. Oh, I was like, what?
I says, I'm tempted to bet. Them for here, just like the hell.
First.
Trucks under.
They have
but really gusty, you know, back and push back or and push the skills back, but.
We had
I'm getting kind of
the
tired.
one car we had, we couldn't
Well,
get three across.
Wish a lot of people, I said, yeah,
Cherokee, so
I
we
don't
don't three.
charge or nothing than that, but it's getting worse. It's for me anyway.
Then
It's
we went to the
getting
funeral.
tired of getting up and spending half the morning plowing snow.
Yeah, my grandpa funeral. I got I
You know, I said, I ain't doing it for something now, but
remember, please.
it's just got to where it's,
Yeah.
when it's.
I was.
Chris, all got them that.
Yeah, we were like a block away from.
Then I glad I had the old Dodge, cause I go full with it.
And I cut it out, and it's like,
People in our car.
Jason, he plowed them.
he started
Waiting and said,
Is that
like,
what's going on? I know what's
still
going
I plowed them years ago. I watched it, like, you didn't get them. Throw me once, once, boys, and go to twice. See Jake, well, the other day, that's where I told us, he can get that thing. So what, like, Snover is trying to, that, just smell, that's why she was. He did.
Yeah, so don't go with.
Snow pile.
Yeah, it's like Tony County. That's what I wanted to do.
If I get her to bring me some shale, I'll dump some shale, so you cover that up.
Well, we need. Oh, it's not around that, but that was. So that was one that. I put on.
Oh, well, I noticed on the other one, right, it's a shade. When I was plowing that,
So she
I
gets.
guess, my fact, income. I see
get out.
that loader, not trying to get that thing below,
Call the police, like, oh, it'll be wild for me to come back.
and he did it twice, third time I found it. I look like, oh, I can do something.
And they're like,
What?
you want to stay? No, do you? No. All right, let's go. And then just like, oh, perfect.
And I just. Last time. And then-
It's like, I just.
Yeah, that was the only thing. She gave the lady my information. Like, bro, what's happening?
She's not stupid.
Finally get me some
I
glasses.
think giving up like the wrong number.
Doesn't have Cadillacs on. Yeah.
She goes, "Hey, let's call." Hey, guy tries to call it, he's like, yes, bro. A freak, like, what? Yeah, you're not information.
I just got a couple days, ago. It makes a difference. Now I can read everything. Before I had to keep carrying them. Readers. Get doing something for that. Have to pull into the out so I could, like, something said. He said, well, do you? He goes, wearing glasses, well, they got glasses. No, I said, so I've stopped these for about 40 years.
Yeah, it doesn't close till.
He said, well, I
It's-
just said glasses for up. The top's just regular glass.
Just like cutting parts.
So he got full. Cause if you take. I think it's a, I can't read it, but it's even there, if it's like a third out, kind of read it. It got to where I, like, I say, it's just very immense.
Yeah.
It's just gone. Go to the grocery store, and you know, if you buy groceries, you want
He
to.
said he didn't have.
Read the groceries. Go down there, get something. Unless I can think of anything else. I got something about pulling them on.
She wants to, but if he's not, does she get out?
I couldn't even keep the, put the Phillips. That's what I said, I told Jay, I said, we got school beach.
She won't.
You go out there. Cataract last year, I said, they only last a year, and then you can. Let's see, board. Yeah, and I could read a paper like this.
One of the first. Lego match, wonderful. Fun.
You know,
You get free Lego. They go to you.
you know, it's so funny. So when finally starts TikTok, like posting videos.
He said,
Oh my gosh.
Hers are all fun.
Eventually.
Well, that's what I said. That's what you got.
To make sure it's not Dave's like, oh, wait a minute, well, you're doing?
6, 7 years ago.
Well,
Yeah, we spent 2 days down there getting our ice fixed.
it's a little different.
Whoa,
If you can make money off TikTok, it's.
But they fixed this all year. I got them all.
Because I don't.
It's like such a lot. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad.
Some girl was like.
Well, Jody over there. Lied like this.
You know what you do.
And you know, says, what can I see? I was, see, there's. You're. He said, no, what can you see here?
Says, so much different.
He said, well, you're, look, I said, shoot her on my eyeball. And he says. She nothing. Wait a minute. She said.
But you can do it.
I must be right hit the guy here in my car. She's coming. That's a sign I hit it on. I didn't see it come.
Yeah, it's no fun.
Yeah,
That's one of the hardest things with.
but I kind of blame, I blame Friday. I'm getting the same way, close up, it's just
Get her away.
certain days. Well, the cheaters were, when I got tired, I get them digging. Then your pockets all filled with it.
You can do it. You know, it's already planned.
Yeah.
Never
did.
You did not.
So I said, you get me very kind of the Ryan Mountains work, or you get me another therapy. So far, they I can see the stuff here. I keep working this topic. He wearing glasses.
She said, I
Yeah,
get
but
now she's screwed.
they go.
Okay, there's nothing.
It's outside. You can.
I go on cruise.
I heard you go without her.
But it's different art.
So I didn't even start class outside.
Where you going?
I didn't work on that.
So she doesn't even know where she's going.
Lights at night.
Inside the work passport. So you're flying to Florida, Virginia? Oh, you're going to Virginia.
All these trips.
Nice.
Well, she's like, so cruise line, don't think days on. Like, funny. Don't actually.
Take it. Probably. I know.
Where are you going to from here? You guys are-
So, yeah.
They were looking yesterday. Which was a 22.
Right, that's all that's happening. You gotta get like the year round, well, there's a 90.
That's good.
Saving up for that,
But I bought
That's in every town.
Take some out.
Inside.
Depends on where we go.
boy, you got it where.
I don't know how to watch about.
Things get shed, take a joke. Get a screw. We didn't feel the, cause I got where I just don't see.
Five or six.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, I can tell them.
Get on the boat, you unpack, back off the boat. It's like.
And it just got on. I couldn't read my.
We found one side.
So there's, I gotta get a.
Seattle to Australia.
I'd be right over where we like.
It goes to Seattle. It's all license, so I-
I did something.
No, when it was slides and it was like, and this is why I need to guess.
So I just looked at one right now.
A guy over.
Good. White.
Yeah, it's like
Valley Vision or something.
15 days,
He's pretty reasonable.
Like for how much?
750.
That's not bad.
See, I'm not sure it's about cleaning.
But that one I would do about,
I don't know, that guy over there and have a vision source.
but the smaller ones I, get.
Service coming out.
Jody Russell. Jody. He's like, he wants that guy.
Oh, shit's coming out for $1,000.
At one time.
you know where his priorities are.
Okay, so I saw a video today, and I say, sorry, yesterday, $5.36.
See, that's
Single day,
for years.
the day of releasing, I'll have $1,000. Well, I just took your $100, so that's.
Who won that?
Now I realize.
I don't know.
You have to wait.
They've been too busy for talking. Tony won the. Tony said.
Made through the blood. Whatever they check.
I know it wasn't. I didn't get so. So
So see, also I'd like to see the 30 says you see that.
Everyone, I just lost you. The second chance one.
But when he put up that test, he's on.
Tell
He
me.
went like, yes,
I was sitting there.
what can you see to the right? I said, no. So he put a chintzy on. He said, I'm seeing the right, he had a. Over there. Says, can you see that? This is what?
Big Florida.
He said, I can't see it, can you? No, I can't see it. He got it right up.
Take.
And Joe, that's why he's up here. Didn't see it till it was. Well,
Just to show.
There's your answer. We see.
And I know someone want me or take them off.
I could tell him.
It's like, if you can't stop there, but you just throw it, nobody knows it. Time off is like,
I like that.
I have
because it was easy, you could see.
Oh, because it won't be off.
I think that's-
Tracy, not you.
You're going to Florida without me anyways.
Nothing's in Florida. Go. There's one. There's one in California. There's one in Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, we did. It's kind of impressive.
Well, that was already the trip we spent a lot of time.
We were
Well,
big,
but
big.
that was the first thing that was legal in, and
It wasn't very
it was
cool
scary.
ride.
Yeah, it's like all these little kids, right? It's like, we had one little kid.
That was like,
That was literally St. George.
Yeah.
Half the thing didn't St. Louis this last weekend.
was for a child.
Did you go to the dinosaur
I
park?
don't know.
We did.
So we got, it was good. So we went. Must have never been. We thought it was super.
We have a little more.
Good experience. Talking to Sterling. They've been.
Might be going back.
Savings for you.
They've written.
Don't want to lock it.
Sounds good. So what we didn't hear.
So what else did you guys do? Why are you down there?
Hiking a lot. It was fun.
That's quite a few. We did.
That was that for the two kids.
One good at that. One.
Next round.
You get to go up snow.
Get them both.
I know.
This would be your big deal.
Um,
I'd say this new insulin on
Thank
me.
you. You do.
no, you got me.
When I take it, if I take
We
it,
We also
I
did
should have
the
taken them.
333
because
steps of dragon tail.
pizza. Before I go to bed, if I don't, I'll very good.
Yeah.
It's cold.
I did it twice with everybody else.
Yeah,